I held my hands out like as if I'm standing on a cross.
Okay.
And when I held my hands out, it felt like 100 pounds was lifted off of me. And I said, I'm free, I'm free. I'm really free because I forgave him. And we can't tend to hold on to bitterness, and we can't tend to hold other people at fault when we played a part in it also.
Right.
So I can now feel free to the point of I can say his name without being mad. I can put a smile on my face and in my heart, and also to let people know that if we don't forgive, we're holding on to something that fester inside of us, and you'll never be able to release that love to somebody else if they are willing to love you and you're not willing to give 100% of love back to someone else.
Right.
So you have to be forgiving.
You know what? I'm sorry, I lost you guys for a minute. I don't know if it's because the wind outside, but I had lost you for about 30 seconds, and I plugged back in, and you were still talking. I was so glad. I don't know what's going on. It might be the high winds. We're having high winds out here today. So yeah. I'm glad everybody was still on. Thank goodness. Well, I totally agree about the forgiveness part. You know, I think that's very important for us to move forward. We have to forgive in our heart. A lot of things that go on in our lives. You know, I'm in my 50s now. So, you know, I can look back at a trail of things and say, I forgive that, and that allows me to move forward. It really does.
It really does. It does. If you don't forgive, some of us feel that, and I felt it too, that you can forgive people, but you can also, you can forgive, but you can hold on to that anger that you feel, but that's not forgiveness.
Right.
That's not fully forgiving someone. But you can also, to forgive is to forgive and feel free, that you're not holding on to something, that you're not holding the other person responsible, that you can just set them free and you can live your life. Without that, again, like I said, without that, you're holding on to something that is keeping you from moving forward in your life and receiving what God has for you.
I agree. Well, can you read an excerpt from your book? Maybe something that we can use right now while we're dealing with the pandemic, while we're dealing with the presidential election, and while we're dealing with civil unrest. What would you tell us? What kind of advice? Give us some scripture. Give us something in that book that will, I don't know, what's jumping out at you?
Well, the beginning, I can read the beginning.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. You are about to enter into a world of fornication, adultery, deceit, and lies. Either you or someone you know has lived this life, is living this life now, or will live this life in the future. By now, know this: there's always an end to everything. And through it all, it can be a life of victory, goodness, peace, joy, and love. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. And that's from Galatians 5:19-21. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. Through this book, it's on a level of anyone can read the book.
Okay.
Especially those who are cheaters.
Cheaters.
It speaks to everyone, but it speaks to cheaters, it speaks to liars, it speaks to those who are deceitful, it speaks to those who are in relationships with others who feel that they are not worthy of a relationship. It speaks to all realms of people.
Gotcha.
We seem to sell ourselves short. We seem to let us think that who they are is who we want. We settle a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We seem to think that certain things in a relationship, I can deal with that, or I can accept that. But once you're in a relationship, you really don't.
Right.
So we have to come to that conclusion and say, okay, this is not what I really want. Or you have to know who you are and whose you are. If you continue to go down that same road thinking you're going to get different results, you're going to get the same results You're never going to be happy. You're
Mm.
never going to get what God wants for you. And we don't want to wait. That's another thing. We don't want to wait. We want it, whatever it is we want it, we want it now. And most of all, we want what everybody else have.
It sounds like you have a relationship book coming.
Actually, I do. I'm writing another book.
Oh, it sounds like a relationship book is coming.
In this book, in Get It or Get Got, it speaks on how we think the grass is greener on the other side.
Okay.
How we lie to the one that we say that we love. How we think that we are deceiving them when all in all, we really aren't.
Right.
We're really deceiving ourselves. It speaks on once you leave that person, you think you're happy mentally. And a lot of people do it. They don't want people to think the wrong that they've done is people can see that, or they are still being eaten up inside. So that does bother them, and people think that it don't bother them, but it does. So we think the person who got away with it, but they really don't. God sees it all, God knows all, and he will turn everything for our good to those who love him, and those who are doing wrong. Nothing that you do is in secret. Nothing.
I think you are the best person to open up this platform today, giving us some spiritual enlightenment before we move forward. Yeah, that's why I put you first. I said, we need to get it or get God before we start our day. So this is some good information. I have a couple, we're going to try to wrap it up now because we got about 2 or 3 minutes. So we have a comment in the chat. We have Dr. Anita, not Dr. Anita, Dr. Anita Powell. She says, bless your heart. Thank you for sharing. Forgive ourselves too. And then we have Dr. Zenell Hall. She says, greetings. Oh, she said, yes, my favorite scripture. And then Priscilla Garces says, hi, everyone. This is a great presentation. What is the name of the book?
It's called Get It or Get Got. If you don't get it, you're going to get got.
How many?
And right now it's on sale on Amazon. You can get it at Detroit Book City. You can get it at Blackstone. You can get it Blackstone Bookstore. You can get it at Amazon. Amazon has it 50% off right now as we speak.
Okay.
Barnes and Nobles, iTunes, and eBooks. And Audible is coming real soon.
Wonderful.
Hopefully next month.
How many pages is your book, and what's the price on it?
It's 44 pages. The hard copy is 20. The paperback right now is $12.95. The ebook is $9.95, but that's on sale also.
Wonderful. And you also can head to our Facebook page or and get it through our 2020 souvenir guide as well. So if you open up the souvenir guide, you can click on her ad and it'll take you right to her website to buy from her website.
Yes.
Wonderful. And tell everybody your website again.
The name of my website is getitorgetgot.com. And I do daily devotions. I blog every day. So you can read those blogs daily. And to say, I would like to say that I have reached over 55 countries reading the blog every day.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I also have a large group of people who pray every day at 6 o'clock for the world.
Wonderful.
So we have a group on Instagram that does that.
Awesome. Yeah, I was able to look at your blog today and I'm like, oh, I can read this every day. This is some good stuff right here.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me some inspiration and some good energy. And I love it. You're doing a great job. Congratulations on your book. This is your first book, right?
I'm sorry?
This is your first book?
This is my first book. I'm currently working on 2 other books.
Awesome.
And I want to say that a portion of each one of my books sold goes towards St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital and American Cancer Society.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being a part of our platform. I'm sorry for the interruption, but I'm glad that Zoom kept going and we didn't have any interruptions in the recording. All right, Tanya. Well, thank you so much
for having me.
We always want to have you with us, child. It's always a good pleasure to have you on our platforms. And like I said, if you guys are looking to get her book, you can get it from Detroit Book City as well, or you can go to our Facebook and to the timeline and click on the souvenir guide and click on her picture and it'll go right to her website. All right.
Get it so you won't get got, people.
Better get it or you're going to get got. It's a good one. Well, thanks a lot. Have a wonderful day. Happy harvest time and be safe.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. That was a pleasure to meet Tanya King, everybody. She is such an inspiration to be in front of, and just her energy is so positive. When I first met her, I had that kind of great feeling about her, you know, and she's doing things with her book. She's helping to change the world. You have to get that book because inside of it is some scripture, and it's like, I just look at it as a daily devotional, especially with her, you know, blogging every day, you know, kind of like a devotional, something you'll pick up in the morning and read before you start your day. So thanks a lot, Tanya, for being with us. All right, let's see, who's next? Our next guest author at the Fall Family Book Fair virtual is Zenell Brown, attorney Zenell Brown. We're going to bring her directly onto the platform because we are running 2 minutes behind. And she's going to let you know a little bit about her background and her book that she has on the market. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to welcome Zenell Brown. Hi, attorney Zenell Brown.
Hi.
You've been an attorney all this time.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a pleasure to be with you today.
You too. Thank you for having me, Janice.
Well, let everybody know about your background before we talk about diversity and inclusion.
Okay, so it really feeds into that. So I am an attorney. I went to Wayne State Law School, a night student there, and was struggling with that as I was a single parent as well. After I finished Wayne State, I then switched over and became an attorney and started practicing for the friend of the court.
Oh.
And part of that is in the book as well. So I practiced at the friend of the court and basically was trying to get out of the friend of the court. And I ended up staying. I got promoted to the attorney job there. I ended up staying, and I've been at the Third Circuit Court for 23 years now. So I started off as a caseworker, became a friend of the court attorney, then got into more administrative and supervisory roles, became the friend of the court. There's an actual title called that. And at this point, I am actually what you call the court administrator. So I'm the person behind the judges, making sure bills get paid, contracts are signed, and things like that.
Gotcha.
So that's my background.
All right. Now, tell us about your book. Let's see a cover. Let's see the cover.
Here's the cover.
And this is a debut, right?
Yes, it is. You're the first. There you go. Conversations, coffee and conversations, inclusions and belonging.
Awesome.
And it's a 28-minute read at most, and it was intended to be that short. And it was just to bring to light what I was seeing at the time of the pandemic was the crisis inside the crisis, the social justice crisis. And my concern was that, okay, we've been here a number of times before, and everybody rallies around because it's all excitement and it's really sexy. But what happens when the next news line comes and this goes in the background? People just retreat to being their old usual self. So my challenge with the book was to make sure that instead of just going back to what your day-to-day was, that you actually start looking at that day-to-day life and how do you become more inclusive that way.
In the workplace?
In the workplace, in your social interactions, but definitely in the workplace. The workplace is probably the most diverse place that we go day to day. Right. Oftentimes when we go home, our neighborhoods look a lot like we look. Mm-hmm. People, same color, same ages, things like that. So the workplace definitely, and the workplace is where we're supposed to be capitalizing on all this innovation. Right. But if people are walking into the workplace and not feeling like it's a place that's welcoming, they're not putting that type of energy in there. They're just collecting the paycheck.
I agree. So you're a diversity professional. You teach leadership, conflict resolution, workplace transformation, mm-hmm. and leadership and organizational training. So talk about that a little bit. Do you go in and you work with groups inside of corporations, or how does that play it?
Well, a lot of it is connected with the work that I do at the courts. I work with other courts. I work with the National Association of Court Managers, the Institute for Court Managers, and I do various trainings there, whether it's to tell you how to become an executive in the court. It could be work-life balance, talking about certain issues that women face in the workplace. So a lot of it's done that way, but I also do on like weekends and evenings some trainings for some nonprofit groups as well. Black Child, what is it? Black Child Development Institute is one of them. Yeah.
All right, awesome. So, what else do I have? I have some other questions. Let's see. Let's see, everyday interactions. It's a 32 pager, correct?
Correct.
And you said it speaks to your behavior and it makes you reflect and it raises awareness of how you interact with other people, especially when it comes to racism. Let's talk about racism.
Whew.
Oh, I know.
You know, it's like the hot topic of the day. So people talk about systemic racism. Most of the systems that we look at, it looks like it's neutral on top, but if you start seeing how systems impact people, you'll see that there's a different impact when it comes to people of color, whether you're looking at healthcare, whether you're looking at the justice system. And you, of course, by being in the justice system, I have more information there.
Yes.
So if you put out, and I'm going to go back a while, and if anybody has child support issues, they'll know this one. In 1998, the state came out with this rule that if you owe back child support, guess what? We're going to charge you interest on the back child support you owe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you had child support, you had interest. You had child support, you had more interest on top of that.
Is
so
that
when
Michigan,
you look at,
or is it all around?
I'm sorry?
Is that Michigan or is it all around?
There were some states that followed. Michigan did it, Ohio didn't.
Okay.
And you saw like the money owed in Michigan like doubled, while Ohio was like pretty much even stream.
Wow.
And what it was putting a tax on those who couldn't afford to pay child support to begin with. And in our system, one of the things that we had to look at was that, you know, when we started doing child support and was really going after, you know, let's collect, a lot of people had jobs at the big three.
Right.
Nobody went back when the big three, you know, sort of became the small three and said, okay, so let's make sure these orders are right sized. Let's get in contact with people and understand what's going on in people's lives to make sure that we have a child support order that matches. And a lot of those people who are impacted, especially in Wayne County, when you look at the numbers, you're looking mostly at paternity cases and family support cases. And the majority of the people who are walking through the doors in those cases are people of color. So how do you make sure that you're actually serving those people and making sure that your system is reflecting what needs to happen to be fair and equitable for that population? So that's just one segment. If you look at education, somebody can tell you about, you know, the disparities as far as discipline and everything like that. And it impacts children of color more so than it impacts white children. So you have all of this stuff in there, and it's like systemic. It's just the way the system is built. And nobody questions it because it doesn't say, you know, we're going to treat Black people differently than we're going to treat white people. But if you start pulling the numbers and start looking at the numbers and questioning, well, why is this so? Then you need to go back and look at your policies and figure out what policies aren't working.
So you think there's going to be change in policies with the way things are going now? You got these millennials that really are involved with and want inclusion, and you got all nationalities. They're out here protesting. And do you see it in the future? Do you see change with the policies and the regulations when it comes to African Americans? What do you foresee just being there?
So I know, and it's predicted in 2042 that the majority of people will be a minority race. That just gives you number.
Wow, I'll be here. Let's add that up. Okay.
That just gives you a number. But to really make change, you got to have that number, or you have to have access and influence. So will that number by itself be enough? I don't know. But I know that that number can start making sure that this conversation becomes an everyday conversation and stays on the forefront. Like, we're not resting until you pay attention to it. And so hopefully that same number is saying in the polls and are out voting just as well as they're protesting to make sure that that same message is heard. You got to make sure that it's not just something for a moment, but it is actually a movement, and that you're relentless, that you're calling in. I got the numbers. The numbers may look like the people of color and may look like the millennials, but now how do we call in the people who have the access and the influence to make sure that those changes occur? So it's going to.
I have a freeze screen. You can keep talking on it.
Okay.
It's a win. It is. Like you said, your internet connection is unstable. We apologize for the interruptions here. We're dealing with technology. That's our disclaimer. You're back though now.
Everybody has that one. Yeah, technology is an equalizer.
Yes, it is. So I'm glad we have it though, because we couldn't have this platform if it wasn't here.
Oh, definitely.
That's some interesting insight, that you shared with us today about that. How about reading a little excerpt from your book? What's something that you can share with us in your book when it comes to inclusion? I want to add that, we have a diverse audience that buy books from Detroit Book City, especially for the George thing and, the Black Lives Matter movement. We have a lot of white women calling our store. And I even had one woman call and said that, hey, I'm a white teacher at a white private school, and I need some books on anti-racism for our kids. I thought that was the best phone call ever. I said, oh, absolutely. Let me tell you what we have. So, and then they're buying from Detroit Book City. Like I said, the majority of it is anti-racism, and I'm glad that that's happening. But give us an excerpt from your book that you think it would feed us well.
Okay. Also, I worked with the Women Lawyers Association of Michigan, and they have your bookstore listed as one to buy a lot of books from. They did the How to Be an Anti-Racist. They had a book talk on that, so that was cool.
Yes, we added them, and we added the little
into
our bookstore. So tell them, keep buying. Yes,
I will. So here's the part that I really think can actually be of value.
Okay.
Diversity and inclusion are enjoying their moment in the spotlight. I've been privileged to sit on conference panels and podcasts and share ideas, but I have this gnawing feeling, and am gathering evidence that I've experienced enough to know that we struggle to find how to fit them into our daily lives. After the great conferences, annual diversity brunches, symposiums, we return to business as usual. I can't let that happen. So that to me was my reason for putting what I was experiencing down in paper and letting people know this is just an everyday experience for people who are of color. So come on, let's talk about it. Let's see how we can change it and make it better. Then I'll share another piece with you too.
I projected that's what's happening too right now. I hate to say it, in the back of my mind, I project that that's what's going on too. You have the conversation and you go right back to normal because that's their normal.
And normal's comfortable.
Yeah, normal's
so you got to be uncomfortable, be willing to get uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that was one of the other things that I pointed out. You have to be able to be uncomfortable. Comfort and growth and comfort do not coexist, as Jenny Ramity, I'm sorry. Expect to be uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is part of the writing process and is inherent in diversity and inclusion conversations. But as I'm not writing and speaking just for the sake of doing so, I'm willing to be in the spaces where I do not have all the answers and perfections does not exist. So I'm going to have the conversation. A lot of people want to keep saying, I want to learn about this. I want to read this. I want to read this. Well, you got to read, do. You can't just say that I'm going to be this educated person, and at some point you're going to become so enlightened that you'll be able to engage in the conversation and make change. You got to read, have the conversation, then go out and do something differently.
What are some things they can do differently? What are some things they can do differently?
First of all, when you're, say for instance, you're on a Zoom.
Right.
And you see that there's one person of color. Everybody has spoken but that person of color. Is anybody going to ask that person of color, do they have an opinion? Do you have anything to add? When we're going back to our normal in-person interactions, who are you going to lunch with? Does everybody always look like you? And what conversations are you having at lunch? Are you ignoring what's on the headline about, okay, Black Lives Matter? Do you even know what that means? Can you ask somebody, well, what's been your experience of race? Do you feel included in this workplace?
And that's inclusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. One thing I can say about the book industry, Detroit Book City just recently joined American Booksellers Association, and they're including us in a lot. And, I tried to get in before the Black Lives Matter movement, and I got ignored. I didn't get a reply. I'm serious. I didn't get a reply or anything. But after the Black Lives Matter, now
let me get you. Yep, get me in and listen to me and pay attention. Right.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that it's authentic. We got inundated interviews when the Black, when all that protesting and all the unrest was going on. We got called by all of the national newspapers, CNN, Fox. They were all calling, and some of those interviews I turned down. Because they were authentic, and I got overwhelmed, and I didn't want to share my feelings no more. I got
and people have to respect that too. That's part of the respect. Sometimes everybody is not going to be the one who say, hey, here's my story, let me share it with you. For some people, that's traumatic.
and then
And
I
you got to
read,
respect that.
you do. I agree. But I'm glad you're on the show. Let's see what we have in the comment section. We got a couple of things. Anita says, be willing to be uncomfortable. Read, talk, do.
Yes.
Congratulations, Janice. Thank you, Anita. We're in now. We're a part of the American Booksellers Association.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. And we got so many we have so many opportunities now. I don't know where to start sometimes. So it is a congratulations. Thank you. Then we have Dr. Zenell Hall. She says, yes, be a part of the solution. And then Marquetta Turner, she says, inclusion is something that the Black community and women truly lack. We are so wrapped up in what is comfortable individually. How can we engage those to begin trusting one another and having discussion on serious, difficult topics?
I would say start small and start building from there. Trust is not something that, everybody just wake up with, especially for somebody who I don't know you. I'm coming in like, I'm going to be a little hesitant. I might tell you something to see what you do with it. So it's going to take time. But like I said, if you start off like just going to coffee and having casual conversation and building that conversation up as that comfort level goes, you stand a good chance in doing that.
I agree. It's going to take time. Because sometimes in the back of your head, you're wondering if it's authentic.
Mm-hmm.
It's the biggest.
If I tell you my story, what are you going to do with it?
I know. It's just a serious, we're having a conversation right now. So, I just think you need to take the good with the bad and you be open to it. You just got to be open to it. Like you said, that's inclusion. You got to be open to it. And then take it from there and trust the process, right?
Yes.
That's my suggestion.
And realize, I think a lot of people, stay away from the conversation because they're afraid they're going to make mistakes. Guess what? You're going to make mistakes. And just be ready to have an apology. Have an authentic apology. Try to find out what it is you did wrong, and then try to make sure that you don't repeat it.
I like that. I think that's part of the solution too, because you're going to make mistakes. And as long as you're apologetic about it, because that's your norm, that's your comfortable zone, your comfort zone, I think that's an answer too. Just be ready to apologize,
Yep.
Let's see, we have another comment. Let's see, Brenda says, we also have a responsibility to address and confront in a constructive way. Microaggressions.
Yes.
Microaggressions. Find that.
It's those little things that people do that really are discriminatory, and they may not even know it.
We call it shade.
Yep. When somebody says, they look at the president or an attorney and says, oh, that person's articulate. And it's like, well, why wouldn't that person be? You couldn't ascend to those positions without being articulate. But you think that you gave that person a compliment because that person is a person of color. And it's like, you got to make sure that what you're saying is a well thought out saying, a well thought out, a well-spoken thought. You don't want to necessarily give like a woman a comment that you wouldn't give to a man. You don't want to give a person of color a comment that you wouldn't give to a white person. And people typically don't go around saying, for a white businessman, oh, he's so articulate. No, you expect that.
That's good stuff. Yeah, so speak, basically, in layman terms, think before you speak.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
But we're so indoctrinated, and it's so much that we just have like the implicit biases that we think, okay, this person's supposed to fit this category. And we're fed all these negative stereotypes. We're even unaware that we're offending.
Right. We have a long way to go, but I believe in the process. I really do believe in the process. And I see change happening on a daily basis, operating in Detroit Book City. I see the change. 1 minute, I'm all in, like, this is great, this is wonderful. And then I have a little small thought that go across and say, is it real?
Yep.
And then my spirit.
Or how long will it last?
How long will it last? And that's because of history.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a history buff. It's just because of history, and I still read history. So then I have to find my balance there, and I have to trust the process. That's what my spirit tells me. Just trust the process. Don't worry about it too much. Just trust it. You got to just trust it.
Just trust it and stay in it. Stay in it.
Let's see. Yeah, another comment says individuals have to identify their natural work. Okay, and then we have Anita
So
saying,
I wonder if that goes to like, some people are willing to be the educators and some people are not necessarily willing to be the educators or share their stories.
we have a long way to go, but I believe in it. I believe in the process. I
Janice,
hope everybody,
I had an emergency, so
yeah,
I need to step away.
we are. We about to step away. You're 2 minutes over. Okay, thank you
Okay,
so much, Zenell. We will talk
thank you.
soon. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, that was Zenell Brown, attorney Zenell Brown. Wow, that was some powerful information, I'll say, right? Timely, relevant. Her book is relevant, so make sure she had an emergency, so we had to get her off. It was hard to get her off, if I can be honest, because she's the person that has the knowledge about inclusion. And I think that is so important right now. I'm a person, I believe in unity. And I believe we're one race, the human race, So I couldn't get her off the platform here. But if you want to buy her book, be sure to go on our timeline or our website, Facebook, on our website, and go to the 2020 souvenir book. Flip the pages, go to Zenell's ad, click on it, and it will take you to her website to get her book. All right, let's see, who do we have next? We have James Kelly. All right, we're just gonna bring him on and we're gonna let him share what book he has brought to the market. We'll be popping in any second. James?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Oh, it's so good to see you again. So good to see you.
See you. Welcome back to Detroit Book City.
It, it is an honor and a pleasure
For
to
those
be back.
James was on our Juneteenth platform, so we brought him back because he has such an awesome book, and it's called Devotee, right?
Yes, dear.
And I where's the cue card? I'm reading it right now. I'm like, oh, I'm a goddess.
Uh-huh, your autobiography, huh? It's tough being a goddess, ain't it?
Yes, it is. Well, tell us about your book. Maybe you can flash something and let us see the beautiful cover, and then you can get into your background first, and then tell us about how you were inspired to write this book.
Okay. I've been a professional musician now for 50 years. I've toured internationally, I've recorded, I've traveled. Tell you right quickly, back in 1976, I used to back up a group called Phonics. That's how far back I go musically.
Oh,
I've had my own group for the last 30 years. And I was the band leader and the sax player. And during that time in my travels, I've played some very nice venues from Foxwoods Casino and all other places. And everywhere I would perform, I would notice that there would be that one female that would walk into the venue, or even as a college professor, as a teacher, I would notice that one student, that one professor, that one teacher in the building, that one individual that would walk into the venue and everybody's head would turn. The oxygen would be sucked out the room. The gentlemen's ladies would say, don't even try it. You know what it's like, Janice.
I don't know if I have that much going on, but okay.
And I as the band leader, I got to sit down and talk with these and meet these individuals. And I noticed that there was a pattern amongst them about their lives, about the way they were treated, about the way they were obsessed over, the way that they always felt when they walked into an area like people stared at them like they was a freak of nature. And as a result, I started collecting information about this and saw a pattern. And that's when I developed the paradigm and the formula for a female goddess.
For those
And I know.
Hold on 1 second. For those who are just checking in, the book is called Devotee, A Mature Mortal's Guide to Understanding, Nurturing, and Protecting a Female Goddess. Okay, go ahead.
And I want you to understand that I said a mortal's guide, because this book, devotee, is not necessarily, a devotee is not necessarily in a relationship with that individual, a sexual or romantic relationship. A goddess can be your sister. A goddess can be your daughter. The individual on that front cover is my daughter, and she's truly a goddess.
Yes, she is.
There are, your best friend can be a goddess, your niece, your sister, your mother. But the thing is, in order to understand what they go through and how to properly be able to nurture, understand, support, and protect them, you must be a devotee. And being a devotee, and also just to quickly state that a female goddess doesn't necessarily have to be heterosexual. You know, there are goddesses out there that have, as we would say, alternative relationships.
Okay.
And those of you female devotees who wish to be female devotees still must understand that these individuals still, whether you are straight, gay, or whatever, they go through the same trials and tribulations in society, in their relationships, and that you will experience the same things like obsession and addiction to them, and how you can't live without them, and every waking moment, that's all you're thinking about. Yes, they do have some serious traits about them. And also that a lot of female, what made me write it was a lot of female goddesses doesn't even know that they're goddesses.
That's what caught me.
They just walk around here like normal female mortals. And they wonder why they have strange relationships, why they can't maintain certain relationships, why they're always treated different, why the relationships that they get into, be it friendship or on an intimate level, are so obsessive. I mean, I've known goddesses that had to take out orders of protection, not just relationship, but friends. But and they have certain characteristics. Always, I'm counseling one now, and I know several of them whose mothers have been jealous of them, have been abusive. They've been psychological and physiological abuse by family members, by friends. They're always those are the ones that the female says, "Oh, you got to come out with us. You got to come out with us." And then when they get out there with the girls, they realize that they're the human bait. They're the ones that you were brought there to attract the males. And then when the males give the attention to you, the goddess, they get jealous and get vindictive. Also, gay men love to be around a female goddess. She is what they call the fag hag. And they say, why do gay men like to be around goddesses? Because it makes them feel more feminine. It makes them validated.
That's why women sometimes have friends that are gay. The women get along with the gay men. That's just like they're buddies, you know?
Mm-hmm. And also, something I didn't tell you the last time we spoke is that what's unique about a female goddess, you don't snatch them up. They snatch you up.
Oh.
You cannot choose a female. You cannot say, I'm a devotee and you're going to be my goddess. No. A goddess notices you, sees that you fit the parameters of being a devotee, and then she chooses you. By the way, we finished the screenplay.
Oh, wonderful. Congratulations.
We work on pitching the movie.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Well, show our audience your book cover. They have to see the cover. Are you doing a slide thing today, or you don't have the slide? You don't have the PowerPoint today?
I could hook it up, but I can show you the cover.
Okay, show us the cover.
Here you go.
And how did you come up? Tell everybody that's your daughter about. How did you come up with the cover to look like that? What's the meaning? Why would you come up with that cover? Tell us about that cover, because it really.
Oh, let me show you the back cover. Actually, it's interesting. My daughter, she's a teacher, and she worked at an urban high school in New York City. And they had, it's interesting, they had their graduate prom. It was the last year she was there. And the theme was Arabian Nights. And so as a teacher, she went dressed like that and she took the photo. And when I saw it, I said, My daughter, you are truly a goddess. I have to put you on that cover. And also, she does some modeling. So she did the back cover. She was doing a photo shoot.
Right.
So I said, what more than some reality? Yeah, that's my baby. Her name is Carla. And she wrote the foreword also.
Yes,
And she's also the lead singer in my group.
Gotcha.
So she has observed a lot of the individuals and met a lot of the goddesses that I have met. And, you know, what people don't understand is that this book is for whoever wants to support, nurture, and protect a goddess. You have to learn how. You have to understand that there are certain things that they require, which is different from other people. Unlike, like, for example, there's a section in the book where I talk about do not make love to a goddess while you're listening to music.
Oh, that's interesting.
And a lot of people say, oh, let's get romantic, and music is romantic. Well, let's put it this way. When you are dealing on an intimate level with a goddess, it's like a surgeon performing surgery. They ain't listening to music unless it's in a movie or on TV.
Okay,
And
grown up talk.
I mean, this is serious. I mean, even when they're sitting down having a conversation with you, you need not to have the sports on. You need not to be texting while they're talking to you, because they may be giving you some insight, a command, just even if they moan and say, oh, I like that. You have to be listening, because when they're speaking to you or when you're dealing with them on any kind of level, the music around you is coming from the galaxy. It's coming from the atmosphere. It's coming from her aura. And if you have to be in tune with that, so therefore you have to give a goddess your undivided attention.
Why don't you read an excerpt in your book? Read us something real quick.
Okay, you got it.
Anita Capri, I know that you're listening. I'm sure that you are taking in this information. She's a higher consciousness sister. She's a bad sister when it comes to poetry. And she's in the audience right now. And I know she's listening to this song. I'm sure she's going to be getting this book.
I'm going to give you the definition, description of a devotee. This is in chapter 4. A devotee is an enthusiast, a fan, a supporter, a follower, an addict, admirer, buff, fanatic, adherent, aficionado. This is the definition of the noun definition of a devotee. A student, a supporter, a pupil, convert, believer, partisan, disciple, learner, apostle, adherent, votary. Now, the thing about, can you still see me?
No, I can't, but you can keep going.
Okay, there we go. Oh, okay. The thing with a female goddess also is that you have to be for her, and I put this in here. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Okay.
We have high winds out here in Michigan too, so it could be interfering with the recording.
Oh, it might have been me. My definition: a devotee must be a goddess's best friend, confidant, lover, whipping post, girlfriend, daddy, toy, advisor, therapist, agent, pit bull, enforcer, prophet, mentor, prognosticator, expert, scholar, humble, individual, leader, experiment, doctor, or patient. So it requires a lot to be able to fulfill the needs that a goddess has. But in order to do that, and when you become a devotee, it's amazing. And it lifts you to a higher state of consciousness, because you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your ego and your attitude in order to be able to take care of them. And lastly, let me tell you just one other part. I talk about the definition of love and being in love with a goddess. You can love anybody, but a goddess you have to be in love with. And as I spoke with one goddess, I asked her, and I talk about that in the book. I say, what is the difference between love and being in love? And the definition of love is the same as you would find in a dictionary, et cetera, et cetera. But being in love, you have to be in love with a goddess. And in order to do that, you have to be do or be whatever she wants, needs, fantasizes, and desires. And when you are doing it or being it, you do not feel diminished as a human being in any way whatsoever. And I told her, I asked her, I said, give me a definition. She says, if you're in love, you want to push a peanut down the middle of a street in incoming traffic, and while people are standing there with your nose, and while people are standing there looking at you and saying, have you lost your mind? You just simply look up, smile, and say, it's okay, I'm in love.
Wow.
Now, who's willing to make that when you're willing to make that type of metaphorical sacrifice, you're entitled to have a goddess in your life. And this book explains that. And it also explains why a lot of goddesses, as I said before, don't even know that they're goddesses. They wonder why they have to dumb up when they're around their friends. They have to wonder why they're in such bizarre relationships and things of that nature. And this book explains that to them so that they can wake up and say, oh, that's why I went through what I went through. That's why I've gone through a thing. That's why I'm so different from my siblings. That's why I'm so different from my friends. And this book explains that. It also explains the steps that a potential devotee must take mentally, spiritually, legally, socially, physiologically, psychologically, in order to become a devotee.
Now, let's talk about, we got more time because I don't see our next author in the queue yet. So let's keep talking. I'm looking on page 59. It says, remember, female goddesses are not developed to handle human prescribed pharmaceutical medications. That applies to me. I can't take anybody's medicine, no pills. I burn oils, essential oils. I'm not saying I'm a goddess per se, but I don't like music when we have, in the intimacy world. I don't like music. I'm a very different cat. I'm a goddess.
But if you notice as you read the book, you're seeing certain things that say, oh yeah, that's me. Now, I'm not saying every single word in here has to apply to you specifically, but you're tending to find certain tendencies. Now, you say, now I know this man, I did not grow up with him. We didn't go to school. We wasn't pen pal. We weren't best friends, but he's writing about me. I see me in these pages. And you know why? That's because you have qualities of a female goddess. And what we have to understand, when I was talking about most goddesses I know, for example, I mentioned in here one of my goddesses, she acquired about 15 years ago, she acquired MS.
Okay.
And for all intent and purposes, you know how debilitating that illness can be.
Yes.
She's located to the Midwest, Colorado.
Okay.
They're going into holistic medication. And when I talk to her, and I make sure I keep in touch with her all the time, she sounds like she's in perfect condition. All goddesses I know, they're into holistic medication. My brother, he has been in holistic medication for over 50 years, 60 years. And so even though I may have suffered, I used to suffer from diabetes, seriously, and he concocted tea for me that my sugar dropped from 395 down to an average now of 121.
Wow, that's amazing.
And when you deal with a goddess, you need to understand that they do not react well to pharmaceutical medication. And all pharmaceutical medication is basically just a derivative of herbal medication. So you need to understand, as I noticed, as I state in the book, you must know what they take, what their illnesses are, what situations physically and mentally that they're going through, because most goddesses are high achievers, like yourself. They excel in whatever profession they're in. And as such, it takes a heavy toll on them. And when they come out to their fortress of solitude, and if you happen to be that devotee there with her, you have to help her debrief. You have to help her unwind. you have to sit there and know that there's a certain type of music she may need to listen to refuel her soul, to refuel her spirit. You have to have that tub waiting for her with the right bubble bath, those oils burning, that proper libation sitting there for her when she comes in the door. All of those things have to be there and ready, because she has to regenerate so that when she goes out here and deals with these humans, that her life condition and divinity is not diminished in any way.
Wow, that's powerful. Let's see if we got any questions. This is some deep talk, ladies and gentlemen who's watching. Does anybody have any questions for James? I think you're blowing the minds of people because there's no questions in the chat.
Well, just to let you know that the second book is done.
Oh, the second book is done. Let's talk about the future. Let's see the second book.
It's called Men on Pause.
Say it again. I can't
Men on Pause.
Men on pause. Okay, hold
Like
on.
menopause, but men on
Up higher.
pause.
Right, I see it, but yeah, up higher. There we go. Higher, a little bit higher. There we go.
Men on pause.
And tell us about that. We're going to keep rolling because I don't see our next person that's lined up in the queue. So let's keep moving.
It's a mature man's guide to understanding, supporting, and surviving your relationship while your mate is going through menopause and you begin to experience andropause, which is male menopause.
So this is for 40 and 50-year-olds, huh?
Some 30-year-olds too. And it kind of travels. It's kind of like it's the sequel to Devotee, because if you are worthy enough to be, quote, snatched up by a goddess, and you're able to become her devotee, and you're able to, because understand, there is a benefit, because if you have to sacrifice your ego, your attitude, you have to sacrifice sometimes even your manhood, and you have to create and learn to have humanhood, so to speak. If you're able to do all of that to protect, nurture, and support your female goddess, it's going to require you to know certain information that you can provide her with. You're going to have to learn certain respectful ways of conducting yourself with her in private and in public. You're going to have to know how to basically become the ultimate individual that you can be. And this book here takes it to the next level. So that once you, as I would say, have been into a felony relationship, that's like 20 years or more.
Oh, that's a felony relationship.
When you do a felony, you get a 15 plus. So when you've been in a felony relationship, you have to know that things are going to change. Physically, psychologically, spiritually, the things you did when you first met her may not work now. You know, you're not the spry young puppy you used to be. Even though she's still a stallion, she ain't kicking and running around like she used to do. So there's certain things that you need to adapt, adjust, and modify your relationship with. And Men on Pause covers that, and it talks about, you know, the situation when men don't understand that menopause, when your mate goes through menopause, you go through midlife crisis. There is a connection between menopause and midlife crisis for men. And it discussed that topic also. So the thing is, also with devotee relationships, when you go into devotee relationships, it's so unique. But when you've been into it for a long time, you have to understand there's another character that can enter into it called a surrogate.
Okay. We're getting real deep here. Keep going.
I'm gonna wait till the book come out. I can't give it all away. But
tell the audience where you get
surrogate.
Tell the audience, where do you get your insight from? What inspires you? How did you come up with this material? This is not some normal stuff. This is some higher consciousness information.
Well,
What is your insight?
well, I have a degree in sociology.
Okay.
So I've studied a lot about culture.
Okay.
Also, I've worked with a lot of disenfranchised populations. I've done a lot of life skills workshops. If you notice in the back of the book, there's a relationship enhancement.
Looks like we have some interruptions here. Oh, keep going. Where are we? Please, oh gosh. Well, hopefully he'll be back soon.
And reevaluate why you are together.
Well, James, hold on a second. We lost you for about 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So we missed something. What did you say? Can you go back just a little bit?
Okay, I was saying, in the back of the book, there's a relationship enhancement workshop, which I designed. I've written a book called ASAP, which stands for Acculturation, Socialization, Assimilation, and Program. As I said before, I have a degree in sociology, and I also have a degree in elementary secondary education. I've taught race, class, ethnicity. I've taught workshops on sex abuse, academic enhancement, relationship enhancements. And in the back, on page 107,
pardon the interruptions. I think we're having some difficulty with the technology. So hopefully he'll be back on very shortly. I think it's due to the high winds here in Michigan. So, oh my gosh. Let's see. That's connecting. I think it's the high winds. Okay, lost you again.
okay, you got me?
It's the high winds. I made a disclaimer and told them it's the high
I'm
winds.
here. Can you see me? I see you, but you froze.
You're frozen too. We're having some difficulties with Zoom. I think it's the high winds in the area. So I see you, but you're okay. Now the internet connection is unstable. I think it's because of the high winds.
I can see you.
I can see you now, and I can hear you.
Can you see me?
Yep. Okay, so let's keep going.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So this relationship enhancement workshop, it has it has 10 units in it. And after you've read the book and you have a better understanding of who you are to one another and who you are to yourself, then it's for you to first go through this relationship enhancement workshop by yourself.
Okay.
And your devotee or your goddess goes through it themselves. Then you get together and you go through these units, making the determination. Why do you want to continue your relationship? What are your relationship objectives? What is your psychological and physiological commitment to your relationship? Understanding and planning a relationship strategy. Capitalizing on positive achievements in the past to springboard to the future. Discovering and identifying your strengths and skills in your relationship. Because you tend to find that a goddess and a devotee as a couple, they build on each other's strengths. We all have weaknesses. And one thing about a goddess is going to take your weaknesses and she's going to turn them into strengths. She's going to show you. And one thing, a goddess doesn't take any nonsense. If they see you hanging out with some people that are no good for you, they're going to tell you about it and they're going to tell the people about it and don't care how they feel about it. Because if you're their devotee, they're going to make sure that they take care of you because you take care of them.
Don't you think a devotee and a goddess, aren't they both special people though?
Definitely. Not only that, a goddess is born. A lot of goddesses do not understand that they're goddesses. And upon reading this book, they will awaken to the fact that they're a goddess. A devotee is created.
Yeah.
A devotee learns. How did I learn how to understand and recognize what a devotee is? I must admit, I was raised by, my father was a definite devotee. He was a gentleman. My father was also a gangster.
Okay.
But he always respected and treated ladies properly. And he always sat down and told me right from wrong. and how to recognize and understand certain things and certain women, how to judge them as far as them judging themselves, and to see the good in them. And in addition, as I indicate in the back of the book, I talk about my mother. My mother was, like I tell you when I was young, I tell you this at the Juneteenth interview we had. My mother used to, when I was a child, she used to walk me around the store. I didn't understand what the sign was. And I used to be walking around with these people. They had these signs in their hands. And 2 years later, she took me in that store, and I was able to read the word then, and the word was Woolworth. Come to find out, my mother was protesting blacks not being able to eat at the counter. And when they finally was, since I was the only little child that was in the snow in the summer, running around that little circle with them, they decided I was going to be the first one to eat at that counter. And I sat there and watched all these people cry while I'm eating a hamburger, french fries, and a Coke, saying, Mommy, you want a french fry? She said, no, baby, just enjoy. But it showed me that what a goddess is. A goddess changes the world. Like yourself, like you say, oh, I don't know if Janice, Janice, you change the world with the things that you are doing, with your book fairs, with your virtual book fairs, with this pandemic taking place, and you still providing a venue and an opportunity for people to remain enlightened. And
well, thank you. That's a compliment. Thank you. I receive.
Yeah, but you know what? It takes a certain individual to be able to do that. Not everyone could do what you do. If they could, the airways would be flooded, and they're not.
Well, I never looked at it as the term goddess. You introduced me to this, really. I looked at it as spirit working through me, Spirit.
And they are spiritual individuals. But once you started reading the book, did you notice that there were certain qualities about you
that definitely
wasn't like other people?
Oh, most definitely. I'm glad you sent me the book, and thank you for sharing the book. Does anybody have any questions? You ladies and gentlemen, you have to have some questions for James Kelly. Everybody is silent.
You know what? It's okay because it's a new concept.
Get the book. That's what it is. Tell them how they can get the book, James. We're at that point now.
Okay, the book is available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. If you're boycotting Amazon, you can go to BarnesandNoble.com and get it. And if not, you can get it on Amazon.com. It's only $14.99. And I'm available on Facebook. So, if you got some comments about it, just look me up and hit me up if you have some questions about it. Or if you have some questions regarding the relationship enhancement workshop, regarding certain units and stuff like that, if you contact me, I tell you what, I'll give you a second email.
I was going to ask you, where are you on Facebook? Because I couldn't find you on Facebook. Share your Facebook page. What's the name?
James Kelly.
I couldn't find you, honestly.
My picture's on there, but I'm going to give you my email, an email that you can contact me.
Okay.
Euphoric, EUPHORIC, music.jk@gmail.com. Okay, that's euphoric, EUPHORIC, music, that's one word together, .jk@gmail.com. And you can contact me once you get the book. If you have any comments, any questions, I would be glad to assist you with regards to answering your questions and taking you further along with it. And I'll let you know, I like to give a shout out, I have to Felicia Deutsch, my publicist with Purpose Publishing. She
name sounds familiar, Felicia Deutsch.
Oh, she's based out of Houston. She is
familiar.
Yeah, she's the bomb.
We have one comment. It's from Anita, which I told you she was going to be listening. Menopause and midlife crisis. Wow.
Men on pause. Don't pronounce it menopause. It's men on pause. Because when we reach that stage of our life, a lot of things go on pause.
We still got about 4 minutes, this is an engaging conversation. It's different, and that's why we do these platforms, so we can meet authors like you on the creative side, putting in everything that they have into written material. Let's talk about menopause and midlife crisis one more time, because we got a couple more minutes. How does that look together? I mean, how does that work together, the menopause and the midlife?
Okay, as you know, or you may not know,
what are some tips?
Once a male hits 40 years old, his testosterone levels start to decrease. His sexual ability starts to decrease. It may be minuscule, and it may not be noticeable in the beginning, but it begins to diminish. Once you have been in a relationship for over 20 years with an individual, 15 to 20 years, things begin to change. Once a woman goes into menopause, and in the beginning of my book, I talk about 37 effects that women who experience menopause go through, from dryness to sensitivity in the skin. I don't want to go into too many details because it'll be in the book, and that'll be released in February. But certain things that they go through, we're not even going to talk about the flashes. And when you are a male, or when you're in a relationship, even if you're a female and your mate starts to go through menopause, for example, I'm with my mate, we're going to work, or we're in a venue or something, and all of a sudden she gets a flash. And when she gets a flash, sometimes it can make them a little disoriented. They start sweating. They could be in an air-conditioned building, just want to take all their clothes off. And when you see that, as a devotee to your goddess, because if you've been with your mate 20 years, you definitely see her as a goddess. You've always been there. You've always been there to assist, to help. What's the matter, baby? Your feet hurt? Let me rub them. Your back hurt? Let me.
We froze up again. Pardon the interruptions here. I think it's the high winds outside. We're having some difficulties, technical difficulties. Hopefully he'll come back in.
Because when she's going into those relationships, she may feel as though she's letting you down because she can't perform in the manner she used to. And this book, this manual, talks about how to work both of you to work yourselves through it and to become and continue to have a meaningful and fantastic relationship.
This is a great book. So for those of you who are watching, this book is called Devotee, a mature mortal's guide to understanding, nurturing, and protecting a female goddess. I'm so glad we brought you back on the show and we had a little bit more time to go over your book. Because the first time it went so quickly, I wasn't able to digest it. But now that I have the book and we had, a half hour with you, I get it. And I get it. I really get it. That's all I can say. It's so funny.
And the thing is, once you read it, you not only, even if you say, well, I didn't go through some of this, but boy, my sister did. My aunt did. My cousin did. My mother did. My friend did. You'll understand them a little bit better sometime when they kind of dumb up and don't speak about their relationships. Or you'll notice one thing about a goddess, they'll go out with you, they'll have a lot of different friends, and different friends serve different purposes. They got one friend they go shopping with, one friend they go out to party with, one friend they go out to eat with, another friend that they sit down and converse with on a confidential level. They serve different purposes. And you'll understand that. You'll understand why people get so obsessed with them and why, as a result, they have to kind of fend off people sometimes.
All right. Well, we are going to close this out. Does anybody have any more questions for James or any comments on this powerful topic of being a devotee and a goddess? You guys you have to get this book. I'm reading it, and it's if you're writing a book, chances are you are a goddess. If you're writing a book, because it takes a lot to write a book as well.
8 years.
And then most of the people who write books on our platform have several degrees. You can tell they just really into their zone and they're tapped in, tuned in, and turned on to their gift. So again, it's thank you for coming on our show again. Like I said, if you want to get a hold of James, you can also get a hold of him. If you click on our Facebook page, he's on the timeline. He's also in our 2020 souvenir guide. Flip through it, look for James, click on it, and you'll go right to his information. I think it takes you to Amazon. If you need his email, because you want to talk to him direct, it's in the Zoom chat. So please grab that email, and he'll be happy to talk to you about how to get his book. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Janice, and I'll be back with you when I get Men on Pause published for you.
All right, and that should be published by the African American, which will be in February, right?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be bringing you back. Well, you have a blessed day and stay safe.
Thank you, dear. Love you.
Love you too.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. So, that was enlightening, wasn't it? Okay, I'm trying to get to the next person here. Let's see. I think it's the high winds. Let's try to end it again. There we go. All right. Wow, that was enlightening. You know, I never, ever gave a thought to the definition of being a goddess, even just the word. You know, we heard it in history. We heard it in, you know, maybe in our textbooks in the past, just real briefly. But to actually read this book, this is phenomenal. You know, it's like it takes you to a whole nother level of who you are, you know? And most of you who are watching and reading, get the book. I mean, you can't lose with this one. This is something different. And I love reading different stuff, you know? So congratulations, James, on that one. Look forward to his next one. All right, let's bring our next guest on. We had another guest in between, but I'm not going to mention her name. Maybe something happened. So that's why we took a little bit more time to talk with James about his book. And I think it was well worth it. All right, let's bring Kimberly Batchelor Davis to the platform. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, Janice. How are you?
Oh, I'm a goddess. So how are you?
No, you are. You absolutely are.
And you are too, and so are you. Wow. That's so powerful.
That is.
All right, well, let's talk about Kimberly Batchelor Davis now. Give us an intro. Who are you? And where's the book I was hoping you would talk about, even though you can introduce all of them, was the, let's see.
Conquering the Darkness?
Conquering the Darkness, especially right now with the pandemic. So tell us who you are.
So my name is Kimberly Batchelor Davis. I am an author of 6 books. I am a podcaster of the Kimby Davis Show. You can find it on Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube. I am a radio personality for 2 radio shows. I'm the lifestyle editor for the nationally syndicated The Michael Van Tool Show and Community Highlights with Missionary Hattie Humphrey. All of those things speak to mental awareness or mental health and awareness about that, about positive healing and empowering. And the book that you specifically referenced, The Conquering the Darkness, is a book that I wrote to talk about my own battle with depression. And really what it was to let people know that it was okay to get through a period where you're struggling with depression, you're struggling with anxiety, knowing that it is okay to get through that, knowing that there is hope, that there is help for you, knowing that you're not alone. You're not the only person. I suffered postpartum depression, and one of the things that I struggled with was not loving my children and feeling ashamed about it and trying to figure out what was wrong with me and sort of thinking that I was the only person. Knowing, and I say that intentionally, that postpartum depression happens. However, I had no experience with anyone who had ever gone through it. And so because I didn't have that personal experience, I didn't specifically know anyone who had gone through it. In the African American community, we don't even talk about when we feel sad. We put on that strong face and we just keep moving. And I kept doing that, and I was self-destructing. And it was getting to a point where I just wanted to end everything. I wanted it to stop. The pain was just unbearable. And my husband came home because he worked in mental health, and he said, I saw you today. I saw someone who looks exactly like you 3 years from now. And this woman was struggling with her children, and she just said, I don't know what to do. And he said, I see it, because you're struggling just to do basic things. And when I went to therapy, I cried for 45 minutes, snotted, everything. It was a cleansing cry. Right. But just to tell somebody, I am miserable. And I'm a horrible person. They need to take my kids away from me. My husband needs to leave me because I am that bad of a person. And the therapist let me talk for 45 minutes. And then he said, okay, I got to talk now because I need to help you get through this. And I went, okay, ready to listen to him tell me something so out there that it would be life-changing and transformational. And he said a few words: there's nothing wrong with you. And I looked at him, and I looked around the room, and I saw all these degrees on the wall, and I thought, oh, he must be cuckoo quacky. Where did he get his degrees from? Because apparently he didn't listen to anything I just said 45 minutes ago. He said, being a parent is hard. It's difficult. He said, no books, no one can prepare you for it until you get there. And he said, sometimes we need some help, and sometimes we need to rest. And ladies and gentlemen, we don't do that enough. We don't sleep, we don't eat well, we don't exercise and take care of ourselves. And the therapist said, well, what do you do for yourself? And I did just like that. I was silent because I had nothing that I did for myself. All I could do was I take care of my kids. He was like, do you read? I said, and he's like, you're an author. Do you read? I love to read, but I can't read right now because somebody always crawling in my lap, taking something out of my hand. I can't concentrate. Do you exercise? And I went, oh yeah, I know I got fat. Blah. He was like, that's not what that was about. He said, do you walk? Can you walk in your neighborhood? And I looked at him like, yeah, I can walk. He said, I want you to take some time every day to go for a walk, 20 minutes. And I sort of looked at him like, again, I know we working through this, but I just told you all the things that I do in my life. And he said, all those things that you do in your life and more, how you take care of everybody else, I need you to take 20 minutes each day for yourself. And I looked at him, came home and told my husband kicked me out the house. Go for a walk.
Go for a
Just
walk.
walk. And I went walking for 20 minutes, and it was great because there was no one in my ear. There was nobody clinging to me. Nobody needed me for anything. I could walk in my own pace. I could see nature. It happened to be, it was springtime. It was getting warm. And I actually enjoy walking. And it gave me an opportunity to talk to God and pray and thank him for the opportunity. And I said, okay, God, I hear you. I'm going to try to do this as often as I can. It turned into walking every day.
Wonderful.
For an hour, hour and a half, which turned into like 3.5 to almost 5 miles each day.
Wow.
The pandemic has thrown that off a little bit. So, virtual school and everything, but the rule is still the same.
It's still the same.
You still have to take care of yourself. You're commanded. Our bodies are a temple.
You're goddess.
That's right. That's right. Where God lives. I mean, when we talk about spiritual and we talk about self-help and we talk about God, God lives within us. So if God lives within us, why do we allow bad thoughts? Why do we allow poor habits? Why do we allow unhealthy foods? Why do we allow unhealthy drugs, addictions, whatever it might be? It could be caffeine, because I'm a caffeine junkie. I love my coffee. That's a conversation you have to have. Or is it drugs? Is it alcohol? Is it cigarettes? Whatever it is. Is it television? Because, some of us, we can veg out on TV all day long. And that's not just whatever it is that you like to watch, but we can veg out on too much news and bring ourselves down. And in a tumultuous time that we're living in right now, where there's unrest across the country, and I don't know about y'all, but every time I open up my social media, there is another video of somebody being harmed, something bad happening. It's going to always be there. Give yourself a limit on how much you watch. Give yourself a limit on how much you ingest into your body, and pray. Take some time to sit before the Father. hear what he has to say to you, because
Evil.
everybody here, right, wait, everybody here has a purpose. Everyone here has a purpose.
Everyone. I agree.
And I have to praise God, because even though it's hard and you know, sometimes when I think back on that, I feel really horrible, because I'm like, oh, what did I rob my children of? But the reality is that was my purpose. My
What you're
purpose.
doing today, you haven't robbed them of anything, huh? You're such a great mom.
Thank you. But my purpose is to be here to share the story, because no one should be going through this alone.
Show us the cover real quick. I see it behind you. Bring it to the front.
So I'm going to bring it forward. I was trying to pull up my PowerPoint presentation. It wouldn't let me. But this is Conquering the Darkness, the overcoming of depression. Can you see it? Got it. Okay. And it is a short story. It's a very short take on my experience, what I went through, how I got through it, how I use scripture. You know, I'm talking about God, but there was a certain period in time where I could not hear him. And I mean that seriously, like it was just silence. Now I hear him again. And this book actually helped me to be able to do that. So I am grateful and thankful to be able to share this. I've had other people read this, and it brings tears to my eyes, because I have women who will read this and go, this is my story, and I've never told it.
Wow. So in that book, there's something in the back. Isn't there like a journal or something you can write in, or what's entailed inside the book?
So inside the book, I give you scripture. I start off with some statistics.
Okay.
I'm telling you, women are twice as likely to be impacted by depression and anxiety as men. But African American women specifically have a higher rate of increase of having cases of that. One of the reasons is because we don't seek help. You know, we've grown up in a society that tells Black people what happens at home stays at home.
Yes.
You don't tell nobody's business what happens in this house. So if we're talking about molestation, sexual abuse, violence, physical abuse, emotional abuse, whatever it is, we keep it locked up and we don't tell it. And in this book, I don't necessarily have that experience, but I give similar situations and link it back to what I go through. I have the suicide hotline number in here, and what you're referring to, Janice, is something that I want to do. I haven't been able to do it yet, but there is a journal that is going to come that is going to be put with this, so it will become a package deal, because one of the things that has helped me is being able to write down how I feel.
Tell us some more about the statistics in the front. Share some more statistics. Is there anything else in that book you can share with us in the front?
So, hold on. I can give you the suicide number, which is 1-800-273-8255. Okay. And then really quickly, I got to find
give us something out of your book.
So 18.1% of Americans, this is just in America, will experience depression, anxiety, and some other disorder like that. So think about it right now. There's an actual diagnosis called COVID depression, because we are in the pandemic, and because we can't go a lot of places and do things, a lot of people are struggling. And just so you know, I'm one of those people that's struggling, because you can't go anywhere, and I'm a people.
We all going through the struggle. It comes and it goes, right?
It does.
Yes.
So here's one of my favorite scriptures. This is not my favorite, but it's one of them. It says, we are fighting against human enemies, but against rulers, authorities, forces of cosmic darkness, and spiritual powers of evil in the heavens. That comes from Ephesians 6:12. So again, you will find scriptures in here. You will find statistics. You'll find information. And I just plainly give you my story. For example, I was washing my hair one day, and my youngest son, because my husband hadn't came home from work yet, crawled into the shower with me. And I literally was just trying to wash my hair, and he was like, hi, mommy. And I was like,
this is the little one, right?
This is the little one, who is always, to this day, he's 8, and he is my baby, and he's up under me. But I was just like, can I get a minute? And I remember my husband said, but he just wants to be close to you. And I said to him, but can I have a minute? And my husband wasn't understanding that I needed to be able to breathe without having somebody cling to. It's when women say they're all touched out, because your children literally touch you. And if you are in my house, oh, my children are, they are touchy feely. Mommy. Every time they say mommy, they are touching me, and I'm just like, oh, and it's an energy draw. And so you have to think about it. When you're draining your energy, it's like a cup. If you have a full cup of coffee and you get to the bottom, can you get any more cup of coffee without going to the pot to go get it? You can't. You have to go and pour another cup. So why, as people, do we sit here and think, I'm tired? I listen to people who say, I only had 4 hours of sleep last night. I didn't have any breakfast. I haven't exercised. I'm cranky. I got a migraine. But you're still running, trying to take care of everyone, to the point where it gets you sick, mentally sick, physically sick, or you die. And we see it all the time. We see it with caregivers, people who take care of people, that they literally run themselves down because they haven't taken care of themselves.
That's an important job, a caregiver.
Yes, it's a very important job. And that was one of those things that contributed to my postpartum depression, because I had just cared for several people in the family who had passed.
Oh.
And so a lot of that was built up, where I was literally going from one thing to another. Like I said, the stereotype, we are strong. I'm going to put that face on, square my shoulders back, and I'm going to keep it moving. But keep it moving was making me sick. And so I had to write this book, Conquering the Darkness.
Well, it looks like we have some comments. Let's see, we have in the chat. Anita Capri says, hey, Kimberly, sometimes we need some help. Sometimes we need some rest.
Yes.
Then we have another comment from Deborah Folson. She says, those are some very important to address our mental health during these difficult times. I commend you for writing about this subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate that from you.
Okay, so we need to get a tip. We have about 2 minutes left. We need some tips from you for parents right now, because it's tough with the kids at home all day, with homeschool, virtual school, whatever you want to call it. And mine's 17. She's a high school senior. I only have one, so it's not that bad. She's kind of on her own a little bit now. Just have to make sure that she stay on top of her game. She got accepted to University of Oakland University and Eastern so far.
Congratulations.
Oh no, this is exciting, but it still can be tough because I run Detroit Book City.
Yeah.
I'm running, and did you finish that project? Did we finish the the pictures for the high school pictures? Did we finish the financial aid? So what's some tips you'll give parents today dealing with this COVID?
So I am in the middle of that storm. I have a 6th grader and a 3rd grader, and it is difficult because as I said, I have a podcast. I'm an author of 6 books. I'm actually working on 2 books at the moment, and I have to prepare for 2 radio shows every Sunday. And so my days, I get up in the morning, I try to take some time for myself. That's the first thing every parent should do.
I agree. So do I.
Figure out whether it's at the beginning or the end of the day, but there's something about the beginning of the day, and I still am working through this. The beginning of the day has to be yours. You have to at least give yourself some time to get yourself acclimated, get yourself situated. Once you do that, then plan out the rest of whatever it is that you need to do. I like to do things in the evening beforehand to prepare for the next day. That makes it easier, so I don't have to get up and run in the morning. I'm not a morning person, never going to be a morning person. But these are things that you learn to strategize around. The next thing, give yourself grace. My kids, and I can tell you, both of them each day, the signal goes out, the volume goes down, they get kicked out of a call, an assignment that they completed will come back and the teacher will say, but they didn't do it. But I know because it was my 3rd grader that I helped him through it, because I have 2 boys, helped him through it because he had some questions. Give yourself grace. No one has been through this. These are difficult times. Give yourself grace.
Awesome.
Second, allow your kids to take the lead in this, because school is for them. And I had to learn this at the beginning because I was doing a little bit too much, and I had to pull back because I was exhausting myself. And virtual school, trust me, is not easy because you're trying to work and your kids are in school and you're trying to listen. And I have 2 virtual classes going on between me. So some days I'm a little bit batty. But give yourself grace. Allow your kids to take the responsibility that this is school for them.
They are smart enough to. They are.
They absolutely are. And you know, in the beginning I was nervous, but both of my sons, even my third grader, has picked it up. He'll tell me, Mommy, I got it. And so I just go back behind him and check to make sure he has it. But for the majority of the time, he has it. Give yourself grace. Do what you need to do. If it gets stressful, if it gets hard, take a break. You are owed that. Take a break. Go outside. I know it's getting cold. Go get a cup of coffee. Whatever it is that you need to do, even stretch for a minute or say a prayer. Do what you need to do to get through that.
Sounds good. We're having a little bit technical difficulty because you're frozen, and it's been happening all day, I think, with the high winds outside. So there we go. Okay, thanks, Kimberly, for coming on. Again, show us the cover of your book and tell people how they can get it.
So Conquering the Darkness is available on my website at kimbdavis.com. That's KIMBDavis.com. Or you can go to Amazon. I have a romance trilogy called Escape to Paradise, books 1, 2, and 3. I also have 2 children's books, Look Daddy, There's a Bunny, and Rose and the Enchanted Seven. All are available on Amazon. They're all also available on kimbdavis.com. You can go and visit the Kim B. Davis Show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, and Stitcher. And every Sunday at 9 a.m. you can hear me on the Michael Van Tool Show as lifestyle editor, and at 9:30.
Freeze again. We have a freeze again. Technical difficulties due to high winds. That's our disclaimer. We're so sorry for the interruptions. Oh, we're gonna get through this day. Okay, there you are. You're back. It's been happening all day, unfortunately. Well, thank you.
It's okay.
I'd like to let the audience know you can also get her book on our Facebook timeline. It's her information. And you can check into our 2020 souvenir guide, which you can get on Facebook or on our website. Click on Kimberly's ad and it'll take you right to her website. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And we'll talk soon.
All right. Have a great one, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Okay, our next book author is Lisa Washington. She should be popping on any second. I guess we'll keep moving because we're about 3 minutes and 4 minutes over. We have a disclaimer for the high winds here in Michigan, so we have some interruptions, some technical difficulties, unfortunately. But I hope you guys are enjoying our author showcase at the 2nd annual Fall Family Book Fair. Lisa, are you there?
I am here. Can you see or hear me?
There you are. I can now. Awesome.
Okay.
We're having some technical difficulties today.
I was trying to get on my laptop and it looks like my cell phone is working.
Oh, okay. That's what I don't know what's going on. So it's been a rough day a little bit today. So we're getting through. We got a disclaimer that we have no control over it. Well, welcome to the Fall Family Book Fair. How are you today?
I am good this afternoon. How are you?
Awesome. We're ready to talk about your books. You are a Christian romance writer, right?
Yes. Christian fiction, Christian romance. Yes.
I got your types. So
Okay.
I guess. Oh, did I lose you? Oh, I think.
Wait, you might.
I see your name. We're patient. We don't have a choice. These are some natural interruptions. So
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, wonderful. All right, so
we're good now.
okay, tell us about your background real quick, and then we'll get into your book.
Sure. So my background is, well, I grew up in Detroit, went to Detroit Public Schools. I left Detroit. That's right. I left Detroit and joined the military. I went to the Navy, spent 4 years in the Navy, lived in Italy for 2 years with my son.
Okay.
Lived in Virginia, came back to Detroit and went to Wayne State, got my degree in public relations because I like to write. And that's what I thought I wanted to do, was write.
Okay.
And that career kind of took me around to some things to where I decided I wanted to get a PhD. And that was a lot of reading and writing, but that was the wrong kind of reading and writing.
Okay.
And so I decided I wanted to go back to school to get a master's degree in creative writing.
Okay.
And so I have been sitting on a story for about 12 years. And that degree is what kind of pushed me over the edge. That was my master's thesis. My book I've been writing for 12 years was my master's thesis. And then it just kind of jump started the publishing, and then I just couldn't stop. So I've only been doing this since 2018. I graduated with my master's in 16. I published that book in 18, and then now I'm on book 5.
Awesome.
Yes.
Very impressive. Well, tell us about Carlia. Is it Carlia?
It's Carly.
Carly. Let's see the cover.
Carly is book 1, the oldest sister of My Sister's Keepers, which is a 4-part book series.
Okay.
And this is the book of faith. So there's a story of faith, the story of patience, the story of hope, and the story of love.
Oh.
And this is the first book, the story of faith. And really, Carly is really a new business owner.
Okay.
And as new business owners, we know things start to happen that we didn't expect.
Right.
And they start to happen, and she starts to lose her faith. She starts to think, maybe this wasn't what I was supposed to do. Maybe this isn't it. And her next door neighbor, who's a business owner, also kind of helps her renew her faith, and also a love interest as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the two main characters are who?
Carly and Simon. So Carly is she owns a beauty salon. She just started. Her next door neighbor is a barbershop, and he is the owner of the barbershop.
Now this book, it comes out December the 8th. Is that correct?
No.
Oh, it's out now?
Book 2, the next sister, comes out December 8th.
Oh yeah, you're very busy writing. That is awesome. Okay, and show us the cover again.
So this is Carly.
Okay.
And I have Kaylee. Let me grab Kaylee.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So this is Kaylee. This is December 8th.
Okay, that's the December.
And this is Carly. And Carly came out this year, I think in June.
Awesome. So the plot, the setting, tell us a little bit more about the book. I know you can't tell us all of it because then we don't need to buy the book, right?
Right.
Let's talk about what inspired you to write the books. How about that? The storyline.
Absolutely. So My Sister's Keepers was more about, I have quite a few friends that have 4 daughters, and their relationship, the relationship between having sisters. I have a sister, but she's 7 years older, and we didn't grow up in the same household.
Okay.
So I'm kind of writing about a sisterly bond that I didn't have, I kind of wish I had, and a little bit of what I had with friends growing up. But this is just about a sisterly bond. And just really how these sisters in their romance, as they're developing love interests and as they're finding love interests, how they don't let their faith go and how they use their faith in their personal dramas along with the love interest.
Gotcha. Well, can you read a little bit something for us? A little excerpt out of the books to kind of spice it up?
Let's see. Oh, I wasn't ready for that.
What about the back of it then? How about reading the back of it? That'll give us some more.
So, it'll give you a little bit. So when we talk about Kaylee, so I'm gonna go to Kaylee because she's the newest one.
Okay.
And when we talk about Kaylee, Kaylee is a business owner as well. She's in real estate, and she just landed the biggest contract a big contract, and she doesn't want anything to go wrong with it. But Kaylee has health issues, and she doesn't know what's going on. Okay. And so throughout the book, as she's working on her business and this love interest, which is a doctor that works with her sister, she is finding that, she is being really patient with learning about herself, learning about her health, learning about just being around, just people being around her and allowing them to know what's going on with her. This is the book of patience. Okay. And just really, Kaylee and Grant is the doctor, it's her love interest. They're both learning to be patient in a world that's just really fast paced with unknown factors. And so that's really what Kaylee is about.
So the message here is I'm hearing the words faith, patience. What's the other 2 words that I heard today?
Hope and love.
Those are traits that we need naturally in just living, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that comes from scripture. That comes from Romans 12:12, where it says, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. So it's all in one scripture, and that's the scripture that drives me for all 4 books.
Now, your characters, are they like spiritual people, religious people, or, do they?
They are real. They are real people.
Real characters, okay.
They are real. They go to church. They go to church, but they also miss church sometimes, and they forget what the word was about sometimes, and they have to go back and think about what did Pastor say today, and oh, Pastor was stepping on my toes today. He got all in my business today. So they're real people, and they're not overly spiritual, and they're not overly religious or churchy, but they're just like you and I. We go to church. We come home, we have to remember what that sermon was about all week to get us through. So they're real.
So you have 5 books. Because this is a book fair, we want the audience to see all your goods. Do you have them handy somewhere where you can show us the covers of your books?
Oh, ma'am, I got one.
That's okay. Show it to us. We're selling books right now. So
One. So this is interesting. So this is lovely.
You showed us 3 of them so far. That's your 3rd one.
So you got 2. You got Carly and Kaylee, my sister's keepers.
Okay.
And then there is the first 3 books, which were called the Faith series. This is Love Lifted Me, which is book 3 of the Faith series.
Okay.
This one also just won an award, the Author Elite Awards.
Oh, awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. So this is
mentioned that earlier that you got an award for that book, right?
Yes, it's for this one, Love Lifted Me. And so this book is about a young man who is the middle child. He's the middle of 7. And so he doesn't know if he fits in with his family or where he fits in with his family. You know, the older siblings were all smart and the younger siblings are all talented. Where do I kind of fit in? So he goes and joins the military. Now, this is a military family of 7. They've traveled all around the world. So he's like, I'm following my father's footsteps by being in the military. But he doesn't think that he deserves the love that his family gives him. He doesn't think that he deserves the loves of anybody. And so he does dangerous things. He does dangerous missions. He puts his life on the line for everybody and everything until he realizes that he has that love that he thought he was missing all along.
So a lot of your storylines come from some experience, I see. You know, you're in the military, right?
I did get to a little bit of my past. A lot of my friends' interesting stories and things like that may show up. Even in the first book that I wrote, which is When You Least Expect It. That book was all based in Detroit. All of it based in Detroit. Then the second book I wrote in that Faith series, which is More Than You Know, was really about a story about a newly married couple facing health challenges. And so, you know, I do dig into a little bit of some familiarity of some experiences that I've had.
Now, in that first book, tell us about that first book, because when they go to your website, they're going to see all of them. That first book, what is that one about?
So when You Least Expect It is about a young lady who is career driven, but her friends' lives start to crash around her. So she has friend drama. And we've experienced that in our lives where other people's drama affects us. And it's like, this is not even my problem. Why am I involved in this? And so her friends' dramas start to impact her life. And it's about how she uses her faith to try to get through all of their dramas and a little bit of her own.
So do you see like the future? You see like well, I want to talk about the award first. You got an award for that. I want to back up.
Yeah.
Your experience of getting that award. I thought that was so hilarious.
Yes. So the
technology, right?
Technology, we love it. We can't live without it, but it's interesting. So as we're sitting there going through the award ceremony, they were at a location in a hotel and they had a big LED screen behind them. So you can see the winners. And as they're going through the categories, I'm getting anxious because I know my category is coming up. I'm like, okay, my category coming up.
Wasn't it Caucasian or white people, white organization or?
It is a predominantly white group of people. There are a lot of people of color that participate, enter, but we are a very small percentage.
Okay.
But as the awards were coming up, they got to my category and the volume went out. It started muffling and I'm like, okay, I can barely hear him. I know I can hear it, but I can't hear it. And then right when he got ready to say, and the winner is, the screen went completely blank. It went black and I just didn't know what to do. And I'm like, what happened? And a big green box popped up that said, press here for video. And that's how you know you won. And so I was sitting right here at this desk, at this computer, and almost fell out of this chair because I couldn't get to that green button fast enough. And finally got to the green button and was able to deliver my little acceptance speech.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's something to be very, very proud of, because, you know, when we look at history, there was a time where they didn't allow us to read or write. You know, and you are in 2020, you know, you're getting an award. That's awesome. I mean, you know what, 2018, you begin your writing career. It's only 2020. You have 5 books.
Yes.
I see Mary McMillan in you. I see, you know, I don't know. I'm just very proud of you. This is like your first time. You are on our Black author directory. So if you want to get more details about her, go to Detroit Book City and click on author directory at the top, and you'll see her profile. You'll get a link to her website and see all of her books. What kind of advice do you give to a person that's writing a romance book? You know, what kind of advice do you give them? I know it takes a long time. It's a process, right?
Yes, but I believe in reading. I believe in the best writers are good readers. And so read. Even now, even today, while I was sitting here waiting for my time slot to come up and kind of checking the football scores to the side, I have my Kindle on the other side, and I'm just reading through some books, not for ideas, but just to know what people like in the genre. You don't want to write outside the genre. And then you wonder why nobody reads it. It's because that's not what they were expecting.
Right.
And so I read a lot in my genre. I read a lot outside of my genre. I read a lot.
How long did it take you to write your first book compared to your last book?
So the first one was 12 years. That was 12 years and a master's degree. And that was a confidence thing. I just didn't have the confidence. I just wasn't built up. And then the second book was 8 months later. The third book came about 8 months later. And then the last 2 were about 6 to 8 months apart. So I'm averaging about 8 months.
You're getting good now. This is starting to flow, right?
Yes.
So what does the future hold for you? Do you see getting into film, plays, anything like that? Or are you going to just keep writing books?
So I want to stick with books. I used to write plays. I used to work for the playwright and director TJ Hempfield in Detroit. And I used to work with him with Perilous Times. From him, I met a lot of wonderful people, a lot of great people. I've met a lot of playwrights. I've done some local theater, but I don't think that's where I want to be. It was fun. Yeah, it was fun. It was good, but I think I want to stick with books because I like storytelling. I love writing the books.
Let's see if we have any questions over here, any comments. Let's see. From Deborah Folson, she says, congratulations. It's great to hear your story. Lisa, I love your enthusiasm. Your advice for aspiring writers is great and inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we have Anita, and she says, that is so cool, Lisa.
Thank you.
All right. So anything else you want to share before we let you go? We got about 1 or 2 minutes. Is there anything else you want to share?
I do. So Saturday is my birthday. I will be the big 4-5.
Wow. Congratulations. You made it.
Thank you. And so I always do giveaways and freebies and things for my birthday. And so if you are signed up for my newsletter, or if you are like my author page on Facebook, you will find out what that freebie is on my birthday that will only be good on Saturday. So Saturday, November the 7th, I'll be 45. I'll be celebrating my 5th anniversary, wedding anniversary. And I'm going to celebrate with everybody by doing some type of giveaway.
Awesome. What about the holidays? Would you have any specials for the holiday?
I will not know yet.
Well, they have to go to your website and check it out, right?
They do, because they come up so sporadically. Like I gave away I did a giveaway to my newsletter people who signed up for my newsletter. I just did a giveaway for them for the weekend because I won an award, so I wanted somebody else to win. So that was just like, oh, let's just do that. So they come out of nowhere sometimes.
Yeah, and this is Military Appreciation Month, isn't it? November's Military Appreciation Month. You didn't know that? I just
no, Veterans Day is on the 11th.
It's also, look it up, Google it. It's Military Appreciation Month. I just found out from somebody else that was on our call yesterday She said her husband's in the military. She said she's going to do something for Military Appreciation Month. She wrote a kid's book that that talked to the kid. The family moved. They were a military family, and you know they move a lot. So the kid had to stay with the grandmother, and she didn't know she was going to have a good time. And so, you know, it was a really good book. Well, thank you for coming on, you guys. This is Lisa Washington. She is the author of 5 Christian romance books. If you like to get a hold of her and buy her books, you can head to our Facebook page. Her information is on that, on the timeline. You can also head to our website and click on our 2020 souvenir guide. That souvenir guide will float through the whole month of November. Okay, so you can always find her. Flip to her page, click on her picture or her ad, and it'll take you directly to her website. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you take care and good luck to you in your writing, and we're going to keep up with you, okay?
Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good one.
Huh?
I said you have a good evening.
You too, and be safe.
Thank you.
All right, Kimberly. All right, you guys. That was Lisa Washington. Wow, that was powerful. I mean, I love to see African-American women writing books that reflect Christian romance. You know, I think that's the key now, to have those type of books, because you'll find people trying to do things right in those books, but they deal with everyday life. You know, we live everyday life. And I'm very proud of her as well for being able to publish 5 books. She's only been writing since 2018. She has a bright future. I think she has a bright future. All right. Let's see. Our next author, I don't see him in the queue. Haneef Sabree, maybe he's having some difficulty getting on. I don't know. We have high winds, so I don't know if he's missing an action or if there's a problem. Okay, let's see. Just bear with us right quick, please. Anybody have any questions or comments? Are you enjoying it so far? You're just logging in. We are hosting the 2nd annual Fall Family Book Fair. We normally have our events physically, where we exhibit around 50 Black book authors, and they sell their books, and we have light music, we have food, and it's a family event. We usually attract between 200 to 1,000 people, depending on what quarter we host the events, and we host it quarterly. So we know the pandemic is happening right now. You know, the presidential vote is going on right now, and we have a lot of civil unrest going on right now. So despite those things, we felt that literacy needed to continue to move forward. You know, we got to continue to educate ourselves and connect to Black authors to learn more about the Black experience, you know, to be engaged in, you know, what we write about, you know, things that interest us. Does anybody have any comments? Let's see. That's so cool, Lisa. Let's see. I'm enjoying it immensely. Awesome, Deborah. I think you've been on all of our calls this weekend, Deborah. Thank you for participating. We appreciate you supporting us. You know, share our information with your friends, your family. Maybe I'll go over some notes real quick, some things that's happening with Detroit Book City. If you haven't been to our website, check us out. We're DetroitBookCity.com, or you can go to shopDetroitBookCity.com, and that's where you can shop for books. We have books from all genres, anywhere from romance to health, fitness. We have Black history, books on diaspora, Sankofa, children's books. We have a ton of children's books, so please make sure you stay connected with us. And if you are looking for books, that you purchase from the independent bookstores. I can't stress that, because I know Amazon have a little bit better deals, but support the independent bookstores, because if you don't, we're going to fade away. Speaking of that, we do have a GoFundMe account that we put up to keep our operations going and to continue to provide funding so we can do these virtual book fairs. So please support us if you can. Give us $5, $20, whatever you can donate, because based on the news, the pandemic is still here, but it's upsurging. So we already know that Europe has already shut down again. They're on the quarantine. They shut down completely. I think this was yesterday. So it's projected it's going to happen here again. You know, I look at the book industry, and I'm looking at a lot of bookstores, they started their GoFundMe back in March. So they're in good shape. You know, they have a foundation to sit on to continue to supply books for their customers and to buy the most relevant books. You know, that's the key, is that book account. So just continue to support the independent bookstores. It looked like Haneef is here. Yeah, I'm glad we had a chance to chat though. Let's see what's inside the, Deborah's asking, what's the best way to purchase books from your bookstore? Online. Yeah, our physical store is closed. We closed at the end of April due to COVID-19 because it's a boutique and it was small. We want to protect everybody. So we're primarily selling online now. So you can go to shopdetroitbookcity.com to find our books. And then we're uploading books on a daily basis, especially with the holidays coming up. All right, look like we have our next author. Hi, Haneef.
Oh, good evening. Good evening. How are you, Denise?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm a lot better now. I apologize for the delay. I was having some serious issues with the technicalities of the computer.
Yes. We've been experiencing it all day, so we understand. That's why I said we did a little housekeeping in between. I knew you were going to show up. You show up, you do show up. Okay.
Indeed. So definitely want to apologize for that to you and also all the listeners as well.
Oh, no problem. Like I said, we've been experiencing all of it. I think it's the high winds, you know, so
Sure.
we do the best that we can. And if we get, you know, the screen freezes up, we'll just keep going and then you'll come back. So just to let you know, a disclaimer, excuse the interruption. We have no control over it, you know, but we're going to continue to do literacy. I'll tell you that, no matter what. Right?
No problem. For sure.
By any means necessary, we're going to do literature. So well, tell us.
Most definitely.
Give us a quick intro and then we'll get into your books.
Absolutely. So, of course, once again, my name is Haneef Sabree. And, of course, I'm an author, but I'm also an educator. And by that, currently, I teach 8th grade math at Detroit Legacy Academy. And also, I'm an entrepreneur. And with that, I also just want to add, as far as just on a personal note, I've definitely been a seeker of knowledge for quite a long time. And also, I consider it my calling, and that is to be a servant to the community. Appreciate it.
That you are.
Okay. Thank you.
You have 2 books. One of them is called Ventricular Soliloquies. You know how long it took me to pronounce that?
That's right. That was pretty good. Sure.
And that's like, is that considered speaking from the heart? Because I'm looking at your book cover. Can you show us your book cover right quick? The first one. Ventricular.
I sure can.
Yep.
Yeah. No problem. 1 second. All right. So this is the Ventricular Soliloquies, the exclusive edition. There it is right there. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, tell us about it. Go ahead.
So as far as Ventricular Soliloquies, I just want to touch on, Denise, what you mentioned about the message on the cover. And so that's true. So basically with that, the ventricular part is just saying some of my innermost and most thought out just expressions. And then with the soliloquies, because that was one of my challenges or my aims for the second book, was to tap into the versatility. So in saying that, the idea was to have a Shakespearean type feel. So the soliloquies, if you think about like Othello or Hamlet or some of the plays by Shakespeare, you'll see a lot of characters going off and having like conversations with themselves. So that's a soliloquies piece, but instead of them just saying it verbally, the information and just the content is written down on paper. So that was one of the main like thoughts behind just that title. Yes.
And that book is 122 pages. And what do you see when you open up the book? Is it poetry?
Yes. So actually, I was gonna like touch on that'd be part of the snapshot. So in the second book, as well as my editorial debut, that's the main hub. I wanted to say to like all the listeners that in each book is fresh poetry, so it's not any redundancy. So just to go back to what you said, so the main hub of Ventricular Soliloquies is poetry, but it has a lot of other aspects in it too that I can elaborate on just when the time is appropriate.
Okay, and then show us your second book, Triumphing a Deck.
Yep, so the sophomore publication was the one I mentioned. Then yes, here's Trump in a Fixed Deck. As I stated, the main element in this one is poetry as well. However, in this one, it does have certain aspects that you wouldn't find in my follow-up publication. Just like real quick on this one, for instance, some of the objectives, definitely I say just to elicit thought. trying to get people to really try to analyze what's going on, because of course we live in a society where the idea is to keep us always moving, in fear. And if you are always moving in a hurry, it's kind of hard to really analyze what's going on. And also with Trump and the Fixed Deck, really trying to just inspire people. And that's real important to me. Whoever it is to have that inspiration for whatever your pursuits might be. And then also to try to tap into one's imagination, to always to think big and think outside the box. Those are some of the objectives on Trump and the Fixed Deck.
Got it. So, Trump and the Fixed Deck, does that short stories and poems in that one? Because I think one of them has short stories, right?
Yes, that's correct. So Trump and the Fixed Deck, that is the one that has a short story. And with that short story, just support what I mentioned about the objective. I really want to try to blend imagination with prevalent issues in today's society. So yes, that's the one that has that short story.
And when you say prevalent issues, elaborate. I want you to go ahead and elaborate. What do you mean by prevalent?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go right on the rat race.
All right, so with the short story and the prevalent issues, just talking about like battles between, good and evil, as far as just you have those who are actually trying to help and trying to benefit society and the community. And then, of course, you're going to have just those, the opposition. So you have the protagonist and you have the antagonist. So like throughout the story, it's like life lessons, and really it's a testament to perseverance and resilience, which, of course, brown people across this nation, that's something that's our forte, just basically given, circumstances that are not favorable, and we still find a way not only to survive, but to be productive at high levels.
Right.
And so in that story, it touches on that both, I'll say, directly and indirectly.
Would you like to read an excerpt from the book?
Oh, sure. And if I would,
Well,
and I just, no, I was gonna say I'll switch gears. Like toward the end, I want to give just all the listeners just a sample, from my publications. Is it okay if I do two? You want me just to focus on one for right now?
Do two, absolutely.
Okay. All right, appreciate it. So the first one I want to say is called Shine Again, and then the second piece is called Crucial Contemplations. Now I'll leave you as I once came. I'm not a man of much fortune and fame. Life can be a confusing game, but you have to corroborate through the strain. But never hold your head in shame, because every day it cannot rain, because the sun will shine again. As I stroll through this earth, I witness the value of life. See, unlike a video game, man, you can't die twice. It's easy to blame the white man for all the strife, but too often when I turn my back, it's my own people with the knife. So you see, the problem in life is spliced. Being too nice in life will never suffice. Knowing the core of the problem is half the fight. So encapsulate the finer things in life. Be on guard as if it's your last night, because you only have one life.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sure.
Yeah, you got me in a whole other mindset. Yeah.
If I could, Janice, because I definitely don't want to break away from just the protocol.
Yes.
Okay.
This is your time. Shine.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So I just want to touch on a few more points on Trump and the Fixed Deck, and then I'll just transition to ventricular soliloquies.
Okay.
So also, just to follow up on our conversation thus far on Trump and the Fixed Deck, there's an educational component, especially because I'm a teacher. And so even though
what level? What grade level?
Oh, I'm sorry, I teach eighth grade mathematics.
Ooh,
for sure, because they're at the crossroads, eighth grade, so really trying to make sure they're prepared, not just for academics, but for life.
Awesome.
And so with that, it is geared for educators, but it's not limited to only educators. I say anyone who's for the betterment and the empowerment of the community, they can definitely benefit from that educational component. And of course, I touched on the short story, but then also you'll find like a wealth of drawings and artwork. And the idea behind that is just to satisfy that readability and intrigue factor from the readers. So just transitioning to ventricular soliloquies, some of the aims for that one is definitely to like heighten one's social awareness, because I think you had touched on it with the housekeeping notes. I mean, that's real important. I say now probably more than ever. also to try to ignite action, because we can have great plans and we can say we're going to do X, Y, and Z. But as the Black Panther showed us, that's one thing I admire about them so much. They walked that walk. Whatever they said they was going to do, they executed it. So, and I see that as a serious stumbling block with a lot of leaders today. They talk well, eloquently, but then when it's time to act, you don't see it. So definitely is try to
walk like that. They walked that walk.
No question.
No question.
Could agree more. Could agree more. So try to elicit action and also just a concept of optimism, and just trying to basically project positive energy.
Yes. Oh. It looked like we lost you. It's the technology. We have a disclaimer that technology is interrupting our recording today. So just please be patient. He'll be back very shortly. Let's see. Give it a few seconds. I think it's the high wind, so please excuse the interruptions. We don't have you back yet, honey. We're waiting. Okay. Wait a few more minutes. We've been having this experience all day, and I believe it's due to the high winds. Give it a few minutes. Oh, it looks like we're getting him back, hopefully. Oh, there he is. Okay, I see you up in the corner. Let's see, which one are you?
No idea what just happened, Denise.
It's technology. Trust me, it's not you. It's the wind today. We've been having it all day, so nope. Continue where you left off, sir.
Appreciate it. So with that, also in ventricular soliloquies, there's a guest, a poet, and author. And with those particular, I would say, just introductions, I think that just add on to the overall impactness and also the character of the book. And then what I really pride myself on is in this book, there's an initiative, because I'm a solutionist. And by that, I'll say just it's so easy. It's important to know what the problem is, but it's so easy just to talk about the problem and get just, I would say, caught up in the issues and not addressing solutions to those problems. So what this initiative, what it focuses on is providing solutions based upon major problems in the brown communities. For instance, like high rates of incarceration, recidivism, unemployment, just instability and feelings of, I'll say, hopelessness. So it addresses all that in a very succinct and clear manner. And it's not it's not opinionated. It's not something that I just basically was shooting from the hip. It's from research and it's based on concrete facts. And the inspiration was by a book called Making the Impossible Possible by Bill Strickland. And so those are some of just a snapshot of both of the publications, and where you'll find a commonality. I touched on it earlier, and that is the poetry. Another part of the extendability would be that even though when I wrote the information, for the readers, it's primarily, I say, foremost for people who look like me, but that's where that extendability comes in, because I don't care what your walk of life is, there's something that you can take away from the publications and feel, I would say, lifted, and motivated. And then also with the publications, I would say just to motivate. I mean, because again, for me, that's huge. That's huge, because I don't care what your pursuits are. If you're not motivated to get it done, it's going to lose its value and its effectiveness.
That's a good point. We have one person in the a listener that says, Haneef, your books sound intriguing. Your optimism is invigorating.
Oh man, that's whoever the listener is. I really appreciate that. I welcome all feedback. So yeah, thank you. That means a whole lot for sure.
So did you have another poem that you want to read? You said another piece of something else you want to read, or no?
Actually, I could. That's not a problem. I appreciate the invitation. This one is called Black Prince, and I'll say it's one of my favorites, and really is dedicated to youth. I'll say just wherever they are across the nation. And so here you have Black Prince. Each new day is a chance anew. Rainbow lit skies perfect my view. Teach the children so that their roots are strong. Make them understand that being Black is nothing wrong. Quite frankly, it's wonderful and should be carried with a smile. The history is so rich, extraordinarily profound. Never believe our ancestry began as mere slaves, jesters, and clowns. Sisters, brothers, always embrace your brown skin, because the greatest love of all derives from within. This world will be nothing. This world will be nothing without the influence of Blacks. It's not my opinion, for if you look deep into history, you see it's an actual fact. Can you do for me this one favor? Can you do for me this one favor? Teach the little soldiers the world is their map. Thank you.
Awesome. Wow, that was powerful.
Thank you.
If you're just tuning in, this is Haneef Sabree. He is the author of Ventricular Soliloquies and also Trumping a Deck. So tell everybody how they can get your two books. And if you can put them up one more time so you can see those beautiful.
Oh, sure. Yeah, thank you.
Very nice. And that book was published in 2012, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yep, 2012. That's right.
And they're self-published, correct?
Yes, I am. And the name of my publishing company is called Young Breed Publications.
Gotcha.
This
Beautiful
is
cover.
ventricular.
Who designed that cover?
So for this cover, actually it's from collaboration with a friend of mine in the past. And so we basically were bouncing off some ideas. And then from that collaboration, I narrowed it down to this. And it basically fit like what my ambitions were, for the literature on this one. And then the first one, just real quick, actually I was trying to find the right fit for my editorial debut. And I stumbled upon a drawing that my cousin had made. And so once I saw that, basically the rest was history.
And let us see that first one again too. I love that cover. That's very unique. Very unique. Yeah, hold that one up. Trumping a Deck. Yes. Very unique. Okay, now that one. Do I see a third eye in there somewhere?
There is. Let's see. There is an eye somewhere on here because it was the perfect abstract for sure. And you say you want me to tell the listeners where they can find my publications?
To know how they can get your publications.
Almost there. So foremost, I want to say just if you go to shop.detroitbookcity.com, number one, because they have my publications, phenomenal resource in the community if you didn't know. Secondly, through direct sales at 313-695-4686 or via my website, which is JRHANDSONSLLC.DUDAONE.com. So JRH and Sons LLC.duda1.com.
Okay, and you can also get his book from our Facebook page. You see his profile is up. He's on the timeline. He's also in our 2020 souvenir guide. So if you go to our website, flip the book open, look for Haneef, click on his ad, and it'll take you directly to his website. And that souvenir guide will run all the way through November. So if you're looking for a unique gift to give to someone for Christmas that has the poetry in it, that has the information about your poetry, your short stories, and just socially charged subjects from an African-American view. That's the way I kind of worded that. Then you need to get Haneef.
Thank you.
You gotta have these books on your shelf. Well, thanks so much for participating. We apologize for the interruptions with the recording, but nature, I think it's the winds outside. It's kind of windy here in Michigan. Are you guys having winds?
It is. Sure.
You're in Inkster, right?
Yes, yep, that's where I'm from. Yep. And also I want to say, Janice, I really appreciate you for having me for this event. Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome.
Anytime. So we'll see you at the African American because that's coming up next. That'll be in February, right?
Look forward to it.
All right.
Yeah,
well, you have a blissful day and stay safe out there.
You do the same. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Hey, that was Haneef Sabree. That was refreshing. I love the poetry. The sharp brother. Let's see. This takes a while to end too, doesn't it? Let's see. All right. Haneef puts me in the mind of Malcolm X. I don't know why. He is such a sharp young man. You know, I'm very proud that he works with 8th grade students. 8th grade students, that is the most vulnerable time of your life when you are in middle school. Middle school is tough for people because you go through bullying, trying to find yourself, trying to determine who you should hang around, who you shouldn't, trying to keep your grades up. You don't know what's going on in the household, especially in the urban areas. You know, it's a lot of things going on in their heads at 8th grade. I have 2 daughters that went through 8th grade, you know, and they were the only child at different times. They're like 17 years apart. But that's a very challenging time in life, and you're really trying to find yourself. And I love to see African-American males working with youth. So I really commend Haneef, and he's been with us since day one, since 2017. He's been selling his books and participating at all our African-American book fairs, and anything that we do, he's always there. And, you know, he's just a brother that you just gotta love, you know. His words that come out of his mouth, his energy, everything is just so positive and pro-Black, you know. Not pro-Black in a negative way, but in a way to be proud of yourself, you know, a way to be proud of your culture. You know, I can't get enough of that. You know, I'm a history buff, and, you know, I am pro-Black, not pro-Black where I'm prejudiced, but just very proud of who we are, you know, and that's what he represents anytime I encounter with him, that's what he represents. So let's see, we're running a little bit over, but that's okay because we're paying for this time, right? And the winds kind of shifted us a little bit, so we're just gonna keep moving, keep rolling. Our next guest author is Andrew Snorton. Let's bring Andrew on. We'll have to shift out real quick. Internet connection is unstable. He's going to be joining any second, despite the challenges that we're dealing with technology. There he is. I see his picture. Hey, Mr. Snorton, how are you today? Can you hear me? We're having technical difficulties too, so don't worry. We'll wait till you log in. I mean, you know, you connect with the audio. There we are.
Yeah. How you doing?
It's been a challenge, brother. It's been a challenge today.
It happens.
It happens with technology. And plus, we have some high winds here in Michigan, so the wind is just, I don't know if it's impacting our internet connection, but glad to have you on the show, and welcome to the 2nd annual Fall Family Book Fair 2020.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, and to all the, you know, to the fellow authors, keep doing the great work you're doing. To everyone else that's tuned in, thank you for taking time not only to listen to me, but to support, you know, some great authors, a great venue. So I'm really happy to be a part of today.
Awesome. Well, you have such a great, detailed, intriguing background, right? Tell us who Andrew Snorton is, and then we'll get into your books, because you have 3 of them, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I do. I have 3. Well, again, my name is Andrew Snorton. I'm based out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. Grew up in the state of New Jersey. Attended college at Wake Forest University in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Professionally, under my business, Creative Community Solutions, I have an education-based branch. So even earlier today, I was doing virtual ACT and SAT prep. I work with students elementary, middle, and high school, so I'm really excited and thankful for that. On the press and media end, I do have my own television show with one of the Atlanta media groups, Status Network. So I air every 2nd and 4th Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's available on Roku and Amazon Fire Stick, as well as all the other platforms. But I've had fellow authors on before, and people across the board, entertainment, business, and community. And then on the writing end, I actually have worked with a couple of authors with editing their work. And really since 2017 is when I stepped really knee deep into the writing end with, like you said, 3 books, a few audio books, and it's a blessing. Seriously, it's a journey and it's a blessing. It really is.
Awesome. So you are the author of 9 Stories of Faith. You're also the author of Deeper Than Your Deepest Sleep, Thoughts on Love with Joseph Snorton. And then your 3rd book is Nothing Minor. That's the newest release. And that's the 2019 coverage of minor league baseball. And it includes the Negro Southern League Museum, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes,
then you have the audio book series, the author's mixtape. You're doing
yes.
it. You're doing
Yes, those are the works. I'll get started, if I may, with the first book that you mentioned, 9 Stories of Faith. So hopefully you can see it based on the lighting, 9 Stories of Faith. And the background on this one is that all of us know everyone has something that they're going through, but there are some people who are going through something each and every day. So what I was able to do with the 9 people that I interviewed, in no particular order, it's a talk across the faith community. Most people are of Christian background, but I did have one interviewee who's of Islamic background and one of Hinduism.
Okay.
And I was very intentional with that because sometimes those conversations across the faith community don't always go that great, just to be honest with you. But in my intro, when I mentioned the traditional Islamic greeting, wa assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam, which is peace unto you and peace back, that's acknowledgement of people's humanity. And you think about other things that are done in the church, like when you have fellowship and passing the peace. In principle, you're doing the same thing. So part of doing this was to see where there are areas of overlap within our faith communities. And when you build upon those, there's some great things that can happen. That can be improved community advocacy. Or, during this time, some people might have heard there's an election going on. You might have heard that. But now all of a sudden, other forms of advocacy and coalition building. But again, another key thing is everyone is dealing with something, but some people are living with something each and every day. So when you're able to listen to these people's retellings of their personal stories, living with physical health conditions like multiple sclerosis, mental health with a bipolar disorder, life after incarceration, but through the lens of their respective faith, best practices with health and wellness, how they incorporate their support networks from family, friends, and loved ones. But a big thing is how they've changed what's between their left and their right ears. So now when you're reading and getting these, it doesn't mean you have to do exactly as someone else does, but it gives you pathways of how you can, quote, live with something versus having it. And I think that's key. When you live with something, you keep it in perspective. When you have something, that can take dominion over you. And I think when people get a chance to draw motivation, encouragement from these stories, you're doing some tremendous seed planting. So again, those are the premises behind 9 Stories of Faith.
Back it up a little bit more. Back it up some. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. 9 Stories of Faith, Volume 1.
Awesome.
The second book that you mentioned, Deeper Than Your Deepest Sleep, Thoughts on Love with Joseph Snorton. So here's the cover. And part of the motivation behind this is we know that poetry, just like when you listen to music, a song lyric can be very powerful. Yes. Poetry may be, quote, the simplest form of writing, but in a lot of respects, it can be the most powerful form of writing. So the backstory behind the title is that back in, I want to say it was 2014, when the poet laureate, Dr. Maya Angelou, passed. She was actually a professor where I went to college at Wake Forest.
Oh, wonderful.
And I was blessed to be able to go to the actual, the memorial service that was done on their campus. That was the service that featured First Lady Michelle Obama, former President Bill Clinton, Oprah Winfrey, obviously, Cicely Tyson. So I was able to be there. But when I got my invite, it was the name of Joseph instead of Andrew. So me being the silly kid that I am, I asked my mom and dad if there's something they wanted to tell me that they hadn't told me before. But in doing a little bit of digging, you know how you come up and discover like distant kin, and this was the story. So in the book, it's really two parts. One part is me asking him questions, looking at the action of love through broader lenses. So you think of the lens of love through your family relationships, community relationships, those people who adopt you as kin, people in your life, people no longer in your life, self-reflection. The first half is really me asking him questions. The second half is him asking me questions. And what I did a little bit differently is that the beginning of each chapter is a portion of the conversation. That way the reader knows the context. So when they get into the poem, they can do a better job of drawing connections. I think sometimes as writers, we're always guilty of putting this masterpiece out, but we have to remember we've got to talk with our audience. So in doing that a little bit differently, it's a way to draw connections. And another thing, sometimes people feel that, when you hear love, some people automatically think relationships. And for some people who might not be in the best space and place, or something isn't happening, especially with the holidays around the corner, that can be a negative spike. So before someone does something foolish, just pause and take inventory. That person that gives you that periodic text, hey, let's get a cup of coffee, or let's go for a walk in the park, or let's watch the game. They're thinking enough of you. So if anything, when you pause and take inventory and you realize there are people that are thinking of you, there are people that think about you and care. So this is just that talk going through that whole dynamic, touching base on people who've kind of fallen by the wayside, times when you've had questions and doubt, but also the hope that can come. And again, just taking inventory. So that's deeper than your deepest sleep. The third book that you mentioned, Nothing Minor. Some people would wonder, what does a book about minor league baseball have to do with motivation, encouragement, and all that? Well, in covering minor league ball in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Mississippi, there are some very powerful interviews and powerful stories. Some people might not realize some of these guys who are playing at the minor league level are coming straight out of high school. And some of the insight that they gave about the game is applicable beyond it. One of my favorite interviews was with a young man by the name of Travis Demerit, who at the time was playing with the AAA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves, so just a level below the major leagues. And he said something that was very powerful that can be used beyond baseball. He said, sometimes you have to filter out the noise. The noise can be people who are trying to kill your dreams. The noise can also come from you talking yourself out of stuff. And in Travis's case, Travis actually got traded last season to the Detroit Tigers system. The Detroit Tigers purchased his minor league contract. So for the end of the 2019 season, he was the starting right fielder for the Detroit Tigers right there in your own, in your neighborhood, basically. And even though the minor leagues didn't play this year, Travis was actually back and forth between the big league Detroit Tigers as well as their practice squad or their taxi squad. And overall, there's about 4 or 5 players I interviewed that were either on major league rosters or back and forth on the taxi squad. And I was very deliberate with a lot of my pregame interviews, interviewing players of African-American background. That's a story and a narrative that, especially when you look at how the demographics of the game have changed, especially like in the 80s and 90s, it's a story that is overlooked. So when you're hearing from a Travis who is in his mid-20s, when you're hearing from a Taekwon Forbes who plays with the Birmingham Barons, which is a AA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox, when you can interview a player like a Trey Harris who's with the AA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves, not only are they talking about the gameplay, but those nuggets go beyond that and can be seed planting on so many levels. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention contributions from Emery Rose Photography, Black female-owned photographer based here in Metro Atlanta. So that's another story behind the story. But another piece that I think is real important is what you said earlier, the Negro Southern Leagues Museum. It's based in Birmingham, Alabama. It is actually the home of one of the largest archives. It goes back and forth between the museum in Kansas City and the one in Birmingham. It's actually on the same block as the ballpark in Birmingham. And this year is actually the centennial celebration of the Negro Leagues. So when people think about their introduction to Negro Leagues, obviously we think about Jackie Robinson and the movie 42 and the great work by the late Chadwick Boseman. But people forget about names like a Larry Doby, who is the second African-American player to break through, and also the second African-American player to become a major league manager. So when you look at all of these stories and when you think about it, part of the reason, for lack of a term, Black folks gravitated towards baseball, that was the biggest sport. You think about it, outside of boxing and maybe, like Jesse Owens with the Olympics, professional sports-wise, other sports that we watch like football and basketball, those sports didn't have their breakthroughs until the 50s and 60s. Right. So when you think about the game of baseball and the relevance, that was really the gateway for other sports and other people putting that pressure on other sports to be like, hey, you need to open up the doors. And even fast forward to today's times, especially with the World Series just ending, a lot of people might have got acquainted with the name Mookie Betts, who's the starting outfielder for the Dodgers. A lot of people don't realize when he was with the Boston Red Sox system, he played minor league ball at one of the teams I covered, the Greenville Drive. And people might forget when he was with Boston, not only did he win the Most Valuable Player award, but he also won a World Series. And so it's really part covering the game, the stories of these, great people who are doing great things within the minor league system and working their way up into the big leagues. It's also acknowledging the impact of the Negro Southern Leagues Museum, which is, again, based in Birmingham, Alabama, but the bigger impact of the Negro Leagues. And I also did a portion with one of the umpire supervisors, African-American background, who does a lot of the training of the umpires. So even when you think about pathways to sports, you don't always have to do it on the field. You can be the manager. You can be the general manager. You could be an umpire. You can do, ownership, or even in regards to just like journalism in general. Like, there is a need for African Americans. There's a need for women. There's a need for other demographics to be in these spaces and places so we can better encompass these stories that a lot of people overlook.
Gotcha. Wow. I guess we better keep rolling with your now you can just tell us about, since you're so good at this. Tell us about the audio book series now.
Sure. The audio book series called The Author's Mixtape. It's actually available on almost like 300 different platforms. So if people are used to downloading things from Tidal, Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, Deezer, Amazon, you can basically go there. And the series is done in partnership with Third Level Entertainment as well as Canis Major Digital. And just like when you think of a freestyle tape in hip hop where someone has a track and they're kind of improvising as they go along, we basically did our audiobook that way. So it's basically what happened is with the first one, Organic Musings from H to O, that's volume 1. When we went in studio, we didn't pre-write anything. The owner's daughters had a list of 20 topics. We put them in a bag. We took it out. I had a moment to go ahead and write down something, and a couple of the poetry spoken word pieces have musical arrangements to it. And we went ahead and recorded it in a 2-hour session. So we did 7 tracks within 2 hours. So the first audio book is really reinterpreting the minds of a middle schooler. And when you think of the topics they came up with, what gives you peace? Healthcare, politics. This wasn't grown folks. These were 7th and 8th graders putting that out there.
Oh, wow.
So for me, yeah. So really the first audio book, honestly, is really great for middle school, high school, and adult, because of that's who came up with the topics. The second audiobook, Beyond History, Beyond the Holidays, you can figure out was released in February, is an 8-track piece. And one of my favorite tracks is called the Nosa Tribe. And what I did is, if people remember the movie Posse, and if they remember the opening scene where Billy Zane's character, who's the general, was making fun of the help, saying he's from the Motisa tribe, and he's like, Motisa, making fun of that. I took that, and what we did with our voices is that we made it to where it sounded like the person didn't know what they were talking about. But if you listen to the questions and answers, it's digging real deep. So when they say don't judge a book by its cover, we basically took that theme and put it on audio. So that's the second one. And then the third one, Get the Bag, which was released in August, is a 9-track piece. But again, all of the writing and all that, I didn't pre-write anything. Everything was done in studio. So that's just, I'll say, a fun creative series that kind of shed light on a couple of items. And with the third one, we did a follow-up track called the Yeser Tribe. Like the Yesa tribe. And it's funny because all the questions start off with something that would be affirmative. Do you think HBCUs should get funding? Which, yes, heck yes, they should. Are you going to be registered to vote? And then we changed it. So the last question was something where we had to revert back to how we did the Nosa tribe. So those are the 3 audiobooks that I've been able to do.
Wow. That's impressive. That's amazing that you accomplished all of that. We're running out of time. I don't have any questions. I thought you spoke very well, and you basically gave us really good in-depth information about your books. Anybody have any questions in the audience? We do have people in the audience. There's nothing in the chat. Well, congratulations on all the success.
It's a blessing,
It
and
is a blessing.
it is. And hopefully, before I know the time's winding down, I'll give my contact info. Just
Yes.
to anyone out there, to any fellow authors, we're needed. Our voices are needed. Our narratives are needed. Don't let anyone tell you different. And like I said, to borrow from what Travis said, filter out the noise. If there's noise that's telling you don't write or don't do something, I'm not trying to tell you where to go, but you might want to move away from that space and place, number one. To everybody out there, not only just support, I mean, yes, of course I want your support, but please don't forget bookstores like this and things like this are critically important. It's great. No knock on Barnes and Noble, no knock on Amazon, but you want to get to the meat and potatoes, you know, the shrimp and grits.
Independent.
You need to keep supporting stores like this because they will give us a chance where those big boys might not give us a chance.
Yeah,
So these things are critically important. I'll make sure to leave with my contact information.
Oh, you can share right now because what we're going to do, they can also get your contact information off our Facebook page on our timeline. And also you are enlisted in our 2020 souvenir booklet. So they can get that from our website or the timeline. And if they click to the page and find your ad, if you click on it, and they'll go right to your website. And remember, we're going to circulate that all through November. Okay, so
Awesome.
You should get some feedback and hopefully some business from it.
Hey, look, any opportunity you have to talk with people, it's a blessing because
Well, you know we do it quarterly, so we're not going to stop. The pandemic's not going to stop us from doing this. Now that we're in the house, we really need to do this. We need to find out and get more educated. It looks like we have a question or a comment. Andrew,
Okay.
This is from Deborah Folsom. Andrew, I love your impressive narratives, especially about minor baseball. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Volson. Thank you so much for just popping in and sharing that. Real quick, I'll say, when it comes to sports journalism, all y'all can figure it out. It's not that many black folk. And even with other sport, like for baseball, especially when I was doing the pregame interviews, I was the only one.
Wow.
All right, real talk.
Well, that's
In the press box, I'm the only person.
Wow.
The only time I would see more people would be when I would go on field and do my photography, like with the camera crews, and then post game, the only one. So when I say that there is a need for men and women, it's a need. And you think about, I was able to capture so many stories. I look forward to capturing more, but guess what? You can figure it out. When there's more of us out there, then we can do a better job of casting a wider net and sharing these things that we need to encourage, embrace, etc. And that's not just in sports. So hopefully people are getting that message.
Well, thank you for sharing your information with us and encouraging our listeners to get engaged in those fields. I mean, you know what, you're there, you're seeing it. So we appreciate the insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
being a part of our book fair, our virtual book fair this year.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Again, thank you. Continued well wishes to you and everyone at Detroit Book City. And again, to everybody that's tuned in, thank you for your support, not only of me, but all the authors and of course the store, so we can keep these types of positive and needed things going. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Take care, be blessed, and be safe out there.
That's the plan. The same unto each and every one of you.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. You do the same.
Okay, that was exciting, wasn't it? Wow, it's very different. And see, that's what you learn at the book fairs. You will meet the most fascinating, amazing people that will share very unique experiences and opportunities with you when you come to these independent bookstore book fairs. We work with the everyday average person, somebody who put their experience or their life on paper just to share it with you so you can expand your mind, your imagination. That's the whole purpose of this. And we're going to continue to do this every single quarter. I love working with the independent people, independent authors. You just never know who you meet. You never know what you learn. So we appreciate Andrew. Thanks for participating. Okay, and our last one, guys, we have one more author for today. I appreciate all of you hanging in there. I hope you are enjoying this as much as I am. We have nothing else to do, right? We're at home, so we might as well learn something and learn about somebody. So our next guest author is Symone Miller. We'll bring her on. Technology. Hi, Symone.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. There you are.
Had my video off until I heard you.
That's okay. We've been experiencing some technical difficulties all day, and I think it's the high winds here in Michigan. So, welcome to the platform. Welcome to the Fall Family Book Fair 2020. How are you today?
I am well. How are you?
We're great. We're great. We're wrapping it up. We apologize. We went over a little. We just had our last guest, and he was just sharing so much good, pertinent information that it was hard to let him go. But we're glad that you are here, and let's talk about what your book is about. Tell us who you are and give us a little bit of background first, and then we'll share the book that you have to share with us.
Absolutely. So my name is Symone Miller. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I currently work in the substance abuse and mental health profession, and I do outpatient therapy. Currently have a private practice, Expanding Your Horizons LLC, and I offer clinical supervision to anyone seeking clinical licensure. A little bit about me. So I'm a social worker at heart. That's what I do.
Now, your book is about your 97-year-old godmother, right?
Yes.
Do you have it handy to show us? Show the audience the book cover.
I do. I have it here.
Bring it closer. All right. Yeah. So some people call her Nana, some people call her Granny, or some people call her Grandma, or what do you call her?
I call her godmother. She actually does not have children, and she does not have sisters and brothers. So a lot of terms people just adopted over the years, but she has no biological children, no sisters and brothers. So her family lineage kind of stops with her.
How did she become your godmother?
So I talk a little bit about it in the book. So I'm only going to give you a snapshot, but my mother lived 4 doors down in row homes in Philadelphia from her. So my mother's husband and her husband bonded over cars, parking your car and you say, oh, that's a nice car. Oh, what kind of oil you use, things like that. So they bonded. And then my mother came around. She was really private. So eventually they became friends. And it just blossomed. In the book, there's 2 different versions of how it supposedly happened. They each tell a different tale as to how she became my godmother. Even to this day, I still don't know what the truth is because they both have 2 different versions. But pretty much she said, I'll do it. I'll be her godmother. And we have been thick as thieves, as they say, since.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I can tell she had an impact on your life, too, just by your background. She had an impact on your life. So the book is called, what's the title of the book?
The Life and Legacy of Lear Green.
Awesome. Tell us about Lear Green.
So
she's 97. She's been here a long, and she's still living, right?
She's actually in the kitchen cooking right now. She's cooking right now. But born in 1923, raised by her grandparents in South Carolina, born into poverty. What can you say? I mean, 1923, just think about everything that was going on, the climate. Her and her family lived off the land. She grew up, became an adult, ventured off to Philadelphia. She met her husband down south. They were married for over 60 years. I'm actually in the house that they moved in. They've been in this house maybe 55 years. Wow. So I'm actually in the house that they've lived in for the past 50 plus years. But she did domestic work. She has a early middle school education. So she pretty much used what she called mother's with. That's more so common sense. That's the term they use, mother's with. So she kind of made her living and functioned just based on that. Common sense, connecting with people, networking, working 2 and 3 jobs, survival skills.
So you admire her, right?
I do.
That's why you wrote. Is that what inspired you to write the book? What
I
inspired you
was
to write the book?
So it's interesting. My supervisor at the time in my current job, she's now retired. She mentioned that I should write a book after my godmother had a health scare. So she was 95. She has heart failure, and they recommended a replacement of her defibrillator. In the process, the doctor did not have good bedside manner and pretty much said, "Oh, you can die. Dying in your sleep's not a big deal." And it took me by surprise, and I was, "Oh my goodness," taken back. And I knew people don't live forever, but it's something about godmother not living forever that took me by surprise. So I called my mother, and she pretty much told me to tough it out. She's had a good life. We're not going to cry. And then I said, get it together. And how are you going to honor her while she's here? Because if that happens, you want no regrets. You want to give her flowers while she's alive. So I did throw a 95th birthday party with all her friends and family. Some from down south came. But this was also a tribute to her book. It was not just about, telling her story, but also a part of my healing process and coming to terms with she's not going to live forever. So how can I pay respect now, get my story down, and also begin the healing process so that I can have the conversation and say, well, I know godmother's not going to live forever, and I'm not going to break down and get all emotional. It's okay. It's inevitable, but I feel good about the mark that she left in our relationship.
That's astounding that she's 97 and she's in the kitchen cooking.
Yes, she insisted on cooking.
It's interesting being around a person that age, because my grandmother, she lived to 99. And we were really, really had a good relationship. We were both Geminis. And when I would come around her, she would always give me this real tight hug. I was like, I was her favorite on the quiet side, because we just connected. As soon as I sat down with her, she would get the gossiping and telling me about what everybody's doing.
Sounds about right.
I had to get something to eat. You want something to eat? She was always, she cooked to the end. And she died 3 years ago.
Oh,
so she would have been 101.
Wow.
So, wow. I mean, just the story. So she share her the relationship things, the finance. It's just amazing that they can live so long and still be doing everything that a normal person would do every day. Does she still drive?
She never drove. Her
She
husband was the driver, but she catches public transportation to go to your local Walmart or grocery store. She still remembers everything. I think someone asked me in another interview, well, what do you talk about? I said the same thing I talk about with everyone else. I call her and she talks about politics. I call her and she talks about the grocery store lines. I mean, we have the same conversations. She was actually in the kitchen now talking about politics. I hear her about everything that's going on. And I was yes, she keeps up on politics. She knows what's going on. It's quite interesting to have the conversation. She remembers as a child braiding her hair, classmates playing in her hair and how she used to walk to school and all of those things. We're talking 90 years ago. She's able to have those memories.
Still have that's
how her grandmother cooked certain things. She actually made not a recipe, but something I referenced in the book, sweet potato poon. If you have a chance to pick up the book, she made that maybe a month ago. And when I came to visit, she had it. And it's similar to sweet potato pie, but there is some differences. But she still has it. It's really a blessing that intellectually she's still there. Physically, I mean, she exercises and does all of the little weights and everything. It's impressive, to say the least.
What is the best lesson she taught you? Or maybe one of the best lessons she taught you?
Oh yes, I'm so happy you said one of the best. Anything worth having, you're going to have to work for. So I remember being in college, I was 2 hours away and part of me was worried to leave her. But my mother was here all the time with her, just checking in. But I would call and I'm frustrated. This class is hard or this test is hard, and just sharing my day-to-day trials. And she would say, anything worth having, you're going to have to work for. And I would remember that as, you're tearing up and you start having all these things happen in college, just a new experience. And even as I continue in my career, as I'm getting a licensure or, buying a house or just different things you go through, it's worth fighting for. So every time trials and tribulations come, I'm reminded I got to fight to get here. That's something she's been through a lot as far as oppression and being a part of a vulnerable group of people. Growing up in 1923, coming to Philadelphia, having to scrub floors on her hands and knees to make a living. So how dare I even attempt to complain when I have a nice cozy office to go to? So it makes me have perspective Yeah. You know, she's washing walls and scrubbing floors where her knees have been black.
My grandmother did the same work. She was a housekeeper for years. She used to catch the bus. She never drove a car. It's the same quality. She used to catch the bus right here in Detroit. And all up until she was like maybe 75. She did it for a long time. Yeah. So your grandmother, your godmother, has been through the civil rights movement, right? How is she comparing that? You said she was in the kitchen talking politics. How is she comparing that civil rights movement to today? 2020. I don't think it can get any worse for us. I know I'm older than you, but you about 30-ish, right? 20-ish, 30-ish?
No, 30-ish. We go 30-ish.
Right? So you don't, well, you didn't go through the civil rights thing. I was born when it was going down. But just from reading history, I know that there's a lot of similarities with what's going on now and what went on then. What's her conversation?
I'm trying to say it as gently as possible.
You can say it. This is our talk
she's
show.
hurt, she's disgusted, she's confused as to how are we here? How can we have people in power who don't care about people? And that's pretty much been her conversation every day. She calls and says, do you know what he did? Do you know what this one did? And I say, yes, I know. Yes, it doesn't surprise me. So she remembers the marches, and she's participated in some marches, and she remembers that time. She remembered times when the first time she voted, what that looked like, how she really didn't even understand politics. She knew the importance of voting. And how she had to work for that and fight for that, and how things up here in the North was very different than down South. When she grew up, they knew nothing of voting. Nothing of it.
Does she talk about, like, back then, did she ever witness like a lynching or anybody house getting burnt up? Does she talk about any of those things? Like,
she never talked about the lynching or anything like that. But she does talk about traveling back down South, I would say around the civil rights time, because she still has family there, and what that looked like. So ordering your food at the back door, not being able to eat, having to eat in the car. She shares those memories and say, hey, we're going back to the old days. They're trying to take us back to the old days. And you can see her getting upset and emotional just thinking about, well, I had to go to the back door, and you knew you couldn't go through the front. And I said, well, what happens if you go through the front door? You just knew. And it was understood that the police are coming, or you may be physically harmed when you try and go through the front door, even though you're paying the same money that everyone else is paying. There's no respect, there's no honor for you as a person. So she's very frustrated that in 2020, at almost 100 years old, we're still fighting some of the same fights.
Wow. Her marriage, she was married for 60 years. When did your godfather pass away?
He passed away in 2005. 2005.
2005. Okay.
2005. He passed away. He had Alzheimer's dementia. Okay. And for about 9 years prior to him passing, and she was there at his beck and call, as some would say. If he said, Lear, I want a steak from the living room to the kitchen, she made a mistake.
She cooks too.
She made that man a steak, a big old steak.
For 60 years, she cooked.
Absolutely. You know, Southern women, the stereotype is true in her case. She cooks. I mean, today she has pig feet, chitlins, fried chicken, beef short ribs, rice and gravy, macaroni and cheese, and cabbage. And that was just something quick. Wow. Cornbread. But yes, their marriage was very sweet. He loved her. He adored her, even with his dementia. He worshiped the ground she walked on. Everyone would say that his niece, who's probably like 70 now, even says they were always newlyweds. That's how she described them. No matter what phase, he loved her. He would, be in a doctor's office with dementia screaming, "Where's my wife? Where's my wife?" Because he knew anywhere he was, Lear was nearby. And if he didn't see her, there was a problem. So their love was it was beautiful to see Black love, honest, true Black love. And, her sticking by him with his dementia and needing so much help and support. She didn't complain. She just did what she had to do as a wife. So, I take that as an example and say, wow.
I was going to ask you, are you married? I didn't ask that person.
I am.
Does she give you advice on things sometime, like with the marriage?
She does. One big thing she said, you have to work together. I know some people believe in, more traditional roles, like you do all this and you do all of that. But she mentions how my godfather used to cook Sunday dinner once a month when she would work a double shift or something like that. And part of his meal was the same thing, fried chicken, I think rice and June peas. And he would buy a store-bought cake. But that was his contribution, and he knew we're a partner. So you both work, you both cook, you both do everything, and that helped them. That helped them survive. 62. He died the day before their anniversary, so 62 years.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. That is so unheard of these days. People don't.
They were so sweet.
2 weeks these days. They don't last 2 weeks.
And in the book, like on the cover, there's actually pictures of her and him. Also inside, there's pictures of them towards the back. And if you follow me on social media at author Symone Miller, and that's Symone with a Y, just a heads up, I have pictures of her from childhood to now. So her birthday was in August. I posted some pictures. So just check them out. She gets on ladders. I mean, everything we could do.
So how did she feel when you told her, hey, I'm going to write a book about you? What did she say? How did she feel?
She said, why? Well, why me? Why would you write a book about me? And I had to tell her, you don't need to lead a march or do anything like that to be remembered in history. There are people who paved the way who don't get written down in the history books. Yeah. So I'm really honored that a colleague of mine had this book put in the Historical Society of Pennsylvania's archives. So even beyond her and I, it's going to live on. Thank you. I'm really honored, and I'm hoping once the pandemic is a little bit improved, I can actually take her to the museum to see her book. That was
one of my questions too, to ask if there are any pictures in the book.
Yes, there's some in the back of her and her love, the love of her life, Albert. We call him Slim Green. He was about 6'1", and he was a slender man, so Slim Green.
I think about her age now. Back in those days, we had a lot of migration. You there? Okay. We had a lot of migration where people was migrating up here. Uh-oh. I can't hear you.
I'm listening. Migration. Okay. I'm trying to get her to come visit.
Okay, good. You gonna let her come to the screen?
Come visit, godmother. Here she is. Come over in the light, darling. This is my sweetheart. Ooh, can you see her?
Oh, there she is. Hi, godmother.
You see her apron. She is cooking.
Oh, we are so glad that your goddaughter took the initiative to write a book about you. We're so impressed.
Happy that I took the initiative to write a book about you.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, darling.
Can I get a plate?
She asked, can she get a plate?
Yeah.
She said, yeah. Everyone is welcome at Leah's table.
Cute. Look at there. Oh, it's a pleasure.
So this is godmother. I'm happy that I'm here at her house. And I told them you were in the kitchen cooking. Yeah. So this is godmother in the flesh.
We are so impressed that you're still alive and kicking.
They're impressed that you're alive and kicking.
Yeah.
You kicking?
Yeah.
I told them that you do your little exercises.
Yeah.
Got to stay fit.
Yeah.
I want to live till I'm 100 too. I said I was going to live till I'm 100.
She wants to live till she's 100. What you want to tell her?
What's the secret?
Just keep on living.
Just keep on living.
Yeah.
That's all. Just keep on living. I didn't mean to bother you. I know you were engaging in your politics talk, but I wanted them to see the faith.
Okay.
All right. You want to say anything to them?
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, baby. I'll be in the kitchen when I'm done, okay?
Okay.
So this is godmother for you.
She's still beautiful. She still have her style and everything.
Oh, she gets dialed up. If you follow on social media, you'll see her church ensemble where she wears the big old hats, the traditional hats, and the 3-piece suit and the nice. She wears a little kitten heel, as we say. So
I'm so inspired by her. I'm just so inspired by her.
Thank you. I'm reading the comments. Someone said she's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's read the comments. Let's see. Deborah Folsom said, "What a loving story, Symone. I can't wait to read your book. She is beautiful." I agree. She is beautiful.
She already wants me to send you pictures. She's telling me on her wall with pictures that she wants me to send you. But I encourage everyone, you know, pay homage to your grandparents, pay homage to your parents. You know, I have an old soul. I've been told that since I was a little girl.
Okay.
But growing up around this young lady has really shaped my life and changed me forever. And I encourage everyone to listen to those stories and write it down. I was nervous to write the book. I was nervous to publish the book, but I prayed about it and I knew I needed to. And the look on her face when she was able to read her own story, it meant the world to me. So,
Does
you
she
know,
have
whenever
in there, or is it your narrative? Are you speaking in the book, or is it her narrative? Who's talking?
I'm speaking in third person.
First person. Okay.
I'm speaking in third person, but it's all her stories. I cleared everything with her. Had to leave a few things out, but I cleared the story with her.
How many pages?
I got her approval. It's 106, so it's a pretty quick read. I didn't want to bore people.
Oh, you can't be bored with that book. And how much was the price on it?
It's $14.99. It can be found on Amazon as well as my website, www.authorsymonemiller.com. For people who are interested in a signed copy by either Godmother or myself or both,
okay.
I can do that. A lot of people want it signed, obviously, but I only can do that on my website. So if you purchase through Amazon, I have no way of signing, just to give you guys a heads up.
Well, congratulations. Well done. You have done such a good deed. And it's a rare thing because most people don't even think about writing a book about, you know, somebody who had a major impact on their life, especially living as long as she has lived. And she's still in there cooking and talking politics and got her cute look on still.
Yes. She has
You.
glasses and everything. Didn't put them on today because she's home, but she has like a nice Sunday pair with a nice frame, and she has like everyday pair.
So that's the tip, everybody. All the listeners. Miss, give me her name again. Lear Green.
Lear Green
said to keep living, right? I take it she don't drink, she don't smoke, and I'm sure she prays. I know she.
Oh yes, she prays and she worship God and grateful for every day. You'll catch her just worship and listen to her Sunday service because she say only by God's grace has she gotten this far.
This is the best story to end with. You're our last author. I'm just smiling cheek to cheek. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna live till I'm 100 years old. I got this. That was inspiring.
I'm trying to do whatever she's doing, catching 2 and 3 buses to the supermarket, because that's what got her here.
That's so awesome. Well, thank you so much.
I still go to one market, come home and unload, and go to another market same day.
Oh, yes, ma'am. She wants me to tell you that on the same day she goes to the grocery store, get what she need, come home, unload, and then she go back out. That's what she wants me to tell you.
Just keep it.
She is spicy, by the way.
And I hear an accent. Is she from? Where's she from? I hear an accent a little bit. That's just a southern accent.
Yes, Beaufort, South Carolina.
Wow. So she didn't migrate up. She stayed right where she was. Was she born there as well?
Yep, born in Beaufort, South Carolina, and stayed in New York for a little bit, and then came here, and she's been here 50-something years. Same house and everything.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories. I'm sure the audience can't wait to get that book. If you guys want her book, you can get it on her website, which is Symone Miller with a Y, Symone.
AuthorSymoneMiller.com.
Or you can get onto Facebook and you'll see her profile. You can click on that link and get her book, or you can go on our website and click on our 2020 souvenir guide and go to her page, click her ad, and it will go directly to her website. Well, thank you so much for participating in our virtual Fall Family Book Fair 2020. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and it was most definitely a pleasure to meet Miss Lear Green.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
I'll make sure I get that book because it's going to continue to inspire me to keep living.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your evening. Happy harvest time. And
thank
you. God bless you and be safe.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Wow. Wasn't that nice? Does anybody have any comments that they want to share in the chat before we end this wonderful, it is Sunday, right? Sunday evening. Anybody have any comments? Wasn't that an awesome story? That was a rare piece to find somebody writing a book about their grandmother. You know, it just made me want to write one about my grandmother. You know, I want to share something with you guys real quick before we get out of here. This is the book that I plan on writing one day. This is my great-grandfather, my mother's grandfather, if you can see it. His name is E.W. Pearson Sr., Amago in Asheville, North Carolina. He was a Mason. He owned a black baseball team. He was a Buffalo Soldier. He was the organizer of the agricultural expo or book agricultural fair that allowed African Americans to sell their goods, their plants, their crops that they grew. He also owned a neighborhood called Pearson Park, where he bought land for African Americans to live in a neighborhood, in a decent neighborhood. And I just learned about him 3 years ago. So yeah. And the way we learned about him was through Ancestry.com. There was a woman who was a historian who contacted me, was trying to get a hold of my sister to get a hold of my mom because her first cousin is still alive. He's 77 or 78 and she's 75 or 76. And they contacted us and we thought it was a joke. We thought it was spam, right? But we followed up on it and she started talking more and more, and I realized that she had one cousin left and they hadn't seen each other since they were 3 and 5. It's been that long, and now they're 76 and 78. And the good thing about this story is they talk every day. And when he came to visit us a year and a half ago, he bought everything he had on E.W. Pearson Sr. If you look him up on Google, you will see he did some amazing things for African Americans back then. And he even worked with the son of the president back then to get that land to acquire Pearson Park, where he allowed African Americans to live in better conditions. So, you know, the legacies, they are so important. I had my great niece over here yesterday with my sister, and we let her flip through pictures. She's only 2.5, but she was inquisitive like a 22-year-old. It's just amazing, these kids, they're so smart. And we let her go through the obituary. My dad passed away, unfortunately, about a month ago. And I did his obituary because I'm a graphic designer by trade. It was an 8-page book. We were able to put me and my sisters in there with all of our lineage of our families. And we allowed her yesterday to just flip through the pages of the obituary. And she thought my sister was her, which is her grandmother. And she was just pointing at people. It's so important to share family. You know, we may not be very close to them these days. You know, there's lots of things going on, but if your grandkids come over or people that are younger, share that old school family portraits, and because we definitely were exposed to that growing up. My mother had albums and albums of pictures, and she would always make sure we were connected to family all around the country. I mean, she just took us over auntie so-and-so house and uncle so-and-so house, and you know, if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't know who our family was. She always took it. It was in the 70s. You know, we didn't know where we were going to land at. Come on, we're going here. So just that family knit and letting them know about people who impacted the world, who impacted their city, who impacted their neighborhood. Connecting them to family is very important. The family heritage is very important. So I'm very proud of that book. I just got so enlightened by that book. So thank you all for attending and for watching, you know, Detroit Book City's second annual Fall Family Book Fair, 2020. 2020. This is something to remember. There's a lot going on. I hope you guys stay blessed. Stay in your higher self. You know, it's a lot going on. Make sure you go out and vote. You know who to vote for. We need some closure to the pandemic. So we have to do what's right. We have to get things back to normal. You know, we want to come back into the physical store. We're looking forward to coming back into the physical store. And if you want to donate to our GoFundMe, please go to GoFundMe.com and look for Detroit Book City and donate so we can keep this platform going. So the next time you guys will see us will be at the African American, and it'll probably be virtual, and it'll be in February. So stay in touch, join our email list so that we can continue to communicate to you. And please shop online this holiday. Buy some books for the kids in your family. Buy books as gifts this year. You know, toys are good, but right now we need to educate, we need to inform. And in those two things, you can't entertain. You know, books are entertaining. We have so many books written by African Americans right now. There are so many books that they can read to empower them and make them feel good about themselves and bring up their esteem. And that's what we need to be, you know, do as concerned respectful and responsible citizens, is to make sure our kids are reading. All right, so I am going to let you go. It's dinner time. I'm hungry. It's my pleasure being your host today. Is this a main talk show? No, it's not. It's very informal. I apologize for all the technicalities we had today, but Mother Nature was out there blowing some wind today. So thank you for tuning in, and God bless you. Stay safe, and we will be back very soon. Keep an eye on us and keep following us. God bless.